Starting off this countdown, we have A858. In 2011, a Reddit user posted a strange and indecipherable code to the subreddit RA858DE45F516-9BC9. Very long, so people refer to it as A858 for short. On the subreddit, this user would post puzzles and cryptic messages. It gained a lot of traction and people were desperately trying to crack these puzzles. No one has been successful to this day. Things got strange when the original poster disappeared for 4 years. When they came back in 2015, that's when he began dropping subtle hints, including a message that when decoded, it revealed an image of Stonehenge. Sadly, in 2016, the page became private, and I believe that it still is private. In our 9th spot, we have Publius Enigma. This is an unsolved puzzle or riddle that was posted on the internet by a user named Publius. Basically, they said that there was a message hidden in the 1994 Pink Floyd album, Division Bell. Many people have tried to solve this puzzle, but none have been successful. It was said though that whoever solved the riddle would be given a reward. Now, the band denied any association with this riddle, and if that's the case, who's behind it? How do you solve it? And what is the reward? In our 8th spot, we have Gary McKinnon. In 2002, Gary McKinnon was determined to figure out if aliens were real. He spent hours researching them and trying to figure out what NASA was hiding. That's when he decided to hack into NASA to see what he could find. In the end, he discovered an image of some sort of strange flying aircraft in the sky. When NASA noticed that an outsider had obtained this information, his access was shut off. Of course, NASA has always denied Gary's claims on the UFO photos that he saw. In the end, Gary was let off the hook, but to this day, we don't know if what he saw was real or if he made it up or what. In our 7th spot, we have Unfavorable Semicircle. This is said to be YouTube's strangest mystery. It started in March of 2015 when a YouTube account with the title Unfavorable Semicircle was created. From there, they started to post weird cryptic videos, all titled with the Sagittarius symbol and then random numbers. The videos were often of abstract pixelated images. Some videos were accompanied with weird and distorted sounds. In fact, in some of the videos you can hear a muffled male voice breathing or reciting random letters or numbers. This channel posted thousands of these weird cryptic videos. To this day, nobody knows what the videos mean or who's behind them. Now here's where it gets weird. A bunch of Reddit users became determined to solve this mystery. From there, the channel gained a lot of attention. But as soon as this happened, YouTube suspended the account without explanation. The videos are basically lost forever. All that's left are bad screen recordings of them. Moving on to number 6, we have the Plague Doctor video. This is another very famous video on YouTube. The video features a person dressed in a Plague Doctor mask doing a bunch of weird stuff in a rundown building. Now, the video title was in binary code. When translated, it spelt out death in Spanish. How creepy is that? Not only that, but the video is filled with an awful buzzing sound. And apparently, if you put this buzzing sound into a spectrogram, which basically gives you a visual representation of the sound, it apparently makes the shape of a woman who's being harmed. To this day, no one knows what's up with this video, or who's behind it, or what it means. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with R Creepy. Now this is another part to that creepy Plague Doctor video. So when that video became viral, the subreddit R Creepy became devoted to solving this mystery. However, along the way, some mysterious people started posting weird messages in the forum. One was a Morse code message that when translated said, "Red lips, life 10th." Don't know what that means at all. And then they also posted 2015 there will be 3. Again, no one knows what this means. Other messages included a list of chess moves, the coordinates to the White House, and coded disturbing images depicting violence against women. To this day, no one has been able to solve this mystery or find out who's behind all these posts. In our 4th spot, we have the deep web. The term deep web refers to the 80% of the internet that is inaccessible through normal internet browsers. And there's a reason why. The stuff on the deep web can be traumatizing. One person stumbled upon an online bid. When the bidding ended, it was revealed that they were bidding on a woman who was tied to a chair. The winning bidder could type what they wanted to do to her. Turns out that this was a torture murder live stream. Moving on to number 3, we have Marina Mascarin. Excuse me, I know I just butchered that name. But this is apparently one of the scariest and most haunted videos on the internet. This video was posted on YouTube in 2008 and immediately unsettled everyone who watched it. It starts off with some man just staring into the camera, then out of nowhere, he starts laughing maniacally. In the next section of the video, we see a man with weird, creepy eyeballs. Now, the full video is 2 minutes long. However, you are warned never to watch the full video. It is said that if you do, it'll drive you insane. In fact, the entire video was apparently removed off of YouTube after 100 people took out their own eyeballs after watching this video and then mailed them to YouTube's main office in San Bruno. To this day, we don't know who created this video, why, and who's that man in the video. In our second spot, we have the killer. A number of killers have apparently used forum sites like 4chan to ask some pretty disturbing questions and tease others. On 4chan, one person discovered a post where someone asked what they keep in their freezer. This person replied with a picture of dead body parts in their freezer. Another killer decided to play a little game with some people on 4chan. He said that there was a missing person, and if they guessed who it was correctly, then they would give them a freebie and then coordinates to where her body was buried. And I don't know if she was ever found. And in our number 1 spot today, we have How to Be a Serial Killer. Now, this is the name of a website, thankfully no longer active, that used to teach people how to become a serial killer. The site was full with detailed explanations on how to kill people and get away with it. Eventually, the site was removed, but when you searched for it, a message popped up saying, "How to be a serial killer has been removed. If you're really interested in killing someone, why don't you start with yourself?" Excuse me? No. Okay, sorry. We still need to know who created this site and why.
Kicking off the list at number 10, passing asteroids. I say passing because ideally that's how we'd like to greet them, right? But really it's out of our hands. On August 16th, 2020, for example, a small asteroid shot past our planet, barely 3,000 kilometers above Earth's surface. So yeah, on paper, sure, that's far away, but when it comes to asteroids that could wipe out all life on Earth, that's dangerously close. We might not even see it coming either. This August asteroid was only discovered a few hours after it made its close approach to Earth. Yeah, so we're kind of late to the party. I'll have you know that even if it did hit Earth, it wouldn't be entirely catastrophic. It would just suck a bit for a specific circle of people on the planet. It's like world roulette. We're like, ooh. NASA does their best to monitor these events, but would you want to know if an asteroid was gonna hit? I wouldn't want to know. Number 9, aliens? Yeah. Back in 2017, a $22 million defense program was put in place called the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. Real life. This is news. Here we go. Its purpose was to study military encounters with UFOs. Yeah, remember when UFOs were on the news and like nobody cared, honestly, at the time? What was that all about? Navy pilots were coming out with their story, or stories. Eventually, come 2019, senators felt the need to be briefed on all these sightings, given the amount of them. After a vote by the Senate Intelligence Community in June 2020, it was agreed that UAP reports were to get added to the Intelligence Authorization Act for 2021 and onwards. That's why more and more footage is coming out these days, because these incidents were filmed ages ago, but now they're allowed to be released to the public. And according to the Times, these 120 incidents that were studied, it turns out the US military is not responsible at all. That's nice. Let's move on before I pass out. Number 8, Apophis. We thought the world was going to end in 2012. The Mayan calendar tipped us off and they even made a movie about it. Yeah, John Cusack got a paycheck because Mayans made a calendar. Isn't that odd? That's a real fact. Well, we might be seeing another disaster movie in 8 years. The asteroid Apophis. Not a bad name for a movie too. Apophis. It's in the category of potentially hazardous asteroids. Potentially hazardous asteroids. Nice. On April 13th, 2029, it's gonna barely miss Earth. Apparently, it's gonna pass just a little bit, and around 2 billion people will be able to witness this with their naked eye. Yeah. Look outside to witness our possible end. That was close. That was really close. An asteroid literally might hit us on a Friday the 13th. How odd is that? Scientists were actually unsure about if this thing was going to hit or not, and even to this day, Earth's gravitational pull might just influence this near miss. Might. There's a fun word in the NASA community. It's good. It might work. We'll see. Number 7, Titan life. Titan is one of Saturn's many moons. Saturn has 82 moons in total, so if there's any aliens hiding near Saturn, we're never gonna find them. They have numerous spots to hide. Numerous craters to pop their little alien heads in and out of. That's a lot of moons. Around 10 years ago, NASA's Cassini spacecraft detected water under its massive shell of ice on this moon. That's pretty exciting, and to quote a Cassini team member, the search for water is an important goal in our solar system exploration, and now we spotted another place where it's abundant. Yes, we love abundant water on icy moons far away. NASA has also detected low-frequency radio waves on this icy moon, and it sounds pretty eerie. As far as space mysteries go, anywhere that has water or signs of water, for that matter, that's a good start. Number 6, Saturn's rings. Another Saturn one coming in hot. I know you wanted more. Let's talk. She's known for her stunning rings. If you ever get the chance to look into space with a telescope, you can actually see Saturn's rings. Even a standard set of binoculars, they ought to do it. It's gotta have perfect vision, like me. They're a great mystery to scientists today, seeing as these rings were formed many moons ago. They're beautiful, but they're quite violent. The rings consist of particles that range in size from micrometers to, well, full-on meters. And they're mostly made up of ice, but they have some trace components of rocky material as well. In December 2016, the Cassini spacecraft actually weaved through these rings. What a mission that ought to be. It flew through, and the spacecraft's radio and plasma wave science instrument was able to pick up the sound of what crossing one of these rings sounds like. And yeah, spoiler alert, it's haunting. It sounds like deep space nonsense. It starts off tame, sounds like, you know, classic staticky space, but when more and more particles hit the craft, the noises increase. There's much we don't know about Saturn's history, but what the planet sounds like, that's a good start. It's an oddly satisfying start. Number 5, our moon. The old man made a cheese in the sky, or something like that, right? Our moon has been here for quite a while, and sadly, it's moving away from us slowly. But we'll still have her presence, her grace, her beauty, we'll still have it for a while longer. Our moon helps us surf giant waves, okay? She helps us keep everything balanced here on Earth due to the gravitational pull that it has. And while we can't really think of an Earth without the moon, was there ever a time where that was the case? Where did it actually come from? 100 million years after the solar system was formed, our moon showed up. Maybe she heard the commotion, maybe she got a little FOMO, and then floated into our system to see what's going on. But right now, our best guess is collision theory. Yeah, perhaps the moon formed during a collision between Earth and another planet the size of Mars or something equivalent, and the debris from the impact collected in orbit around Earth, and then boom, now we got a bright ball of cheese to wish upon. Thank you. Thanks, solar system. Number 4, the back door. What lies at the end of our solar system? Is it like the Truman Show? Just a big wall with one door they have to walk through and look around and then now your life's over? I don't know, you're in heaven? We have no idea, but we do know what the edge of our solar system sounds like. Yeah, this is an audio graph of the Voyager's plasma wave science observation that lasted several months between 2012 and 2013. These readings are important because this is the moment scientists believe the Voyager left our solar system's heliopause, making it the first ever human-made object to leave our solar system. That's amazing. Now it's just drifting in deep space. We have no idea where it's gonna end up. If you were thinking about leaving our solar system, well, this is what it's gonna sound like. Number 3, the Skull asteroid. Yeah, as if asteroids weren't already scary enough, now we need to observe one that looks like a scary skull. Literal Halloween ornament floating through the cosmos. Awesome. Asteroid 2015 TV145. This object was captured using the Arecibo Observatory in Puerto Rico on October 30th, 2015. And NASA says that it's likely a dead comet. Yeah, a dead comet in the shape of a skull discovered a day before Halloween. Is this real life? Is this a bit? This can't be real. This asteroid passed Earth on Halloween night, and it was also pretty close. I'm not gonna lie, this thing was around 300,000 miles away, which is just a little further than the distance from Earth to the moon. That's how close it was. The asteroid flew by Earth again on November 11th, 2018, but luckily this time it was much further away, so we're good. But for a minute there, whew, almost weren't. Trick or treat. Oh, number 2, Uranus tilts. Yeah, haha, jokes aside, I said it. Okay, great, let's move on. You best believe I've had about 20 jokes ready about Uranus, but you know what? This is a serious topic, so now we gotta get serious. We're still trying to figure out why Uranus rotates on its side, while every other planet in our solar system has their axis pointing upwards. Uranus's tilt is 98 degrees, so there's long periods of time, like 40 years long I'm talking, where the north or south pole will just face the sun directly. That's a perfect place to get a very specific tan. Other planets in our solar system have a prograde rotation, or they go counterclockwise depending on which way we're looking at it. But Venus has a retrograde rotation. But why? How did this start? So far, a leading theory is that something massive hit this planet. Early on in their planet life, scientists believed Uranus was hit by a meteor and then completely threw it off course. Or it collided with the moon or Earth or something. Maybe we're responsible. I feel like we're responsible. Sorry about Uranus. And finally, number 1, gamma bursts. Our sun is hot, she is bumping, she keeps us alive, and somehow I'm still pale. But what if she decides to act up? Then what? The northern lights are a fun result from cosmic activity, but can we handle any more than that? When we look at extinction level events, like say, I don't know, a meteor hitting our planet, we can bounce back from that, like humans. Dinosaurs, not so lucky. Maybe not them, but humans, with bigger arms, we have a fighting chance. When it comes to gamma rays hitting the planet, no chance we're bouncing back from that. That's the end of everything. Unless you're the Incredible Hulk, you're not gonna have a pleasant time. Gamma rays happen when stars explode in distant galaxies. Light and energy just shoots out, along with radio waves, neutrinos, gamma rays of course, just cosmic confetti of all shapes and sizes. All blasted at your fresh little face. All that good space stuff. But these gamma rays, they travel light years through space. If they were to hit Earth, our ozone would be toast forever. We would be engulfed in a chemical smog forever. Let's just hope that one star that's really close to our planet keeps calm and carries us on. That sounds great.
Starting off this countdown, we have Cicada 3301. Now this is one of the most famous internet mysteries of all time. So it all started in 2012 when a mysterious organization, Cicada 3301, posted a weird message on 4chan. According to the message, there was a secret hidden within their posted image, and they were recruiting highly intelligent individuals to try and solve it. They said that solving this would lead them on the road to finding them, and that they looked forward to meeting those that solved it. Well, it turns out that by opening the image file in a text editing app, a string of characters would appear. When decoded, it led users to a website with even more weird messages. Some say that they solved the mystery. Others say that those who completed the puzzle are recruited for something and are never heard from again. What are they recruited for though? That's what I would like to know. In our 9th spot, we have Heaven's Gate. This was a creepy and popular American religious cult on the internet that believed in UFOs. In 1997, police found 39 members of the cult dead inside of a house. Apparently, the members took their lives in order to ascend and board an extraterrestrial spacecraft and go to another planet. They were all found wearing arm patches that read Heaven's Gate Away Team. To this day, the website is still up and running, and no one knows who's running it. Now, in 2015, the administrators behind the website did do an email interview. In the interview, they called themselves Tela, which stands for the evolutionary level above humans. They claim that the dead members are actually alive and have transcended their human bodies, and that they will come back eventually. To this day, their identity still remains unknown. In our 8th spot, we have Chip Chan. This is one internet mystery that has always left me unsettled. Chip Chan is the name given to a Korean woman that was discovered in a 4chan webcam thread in 2008. It immediately caught the attention of a number of people because the footage revealed this woman sleeping in unusual positions for long periods of time at unusual times of day. In fact, at first, people thought that she was dead. She also sleeps in weird positions like on a chair or on the floor. After doing further investigation, users found that this woman believes that a mind control weapon was implanted into her ankle bone and under her left eyebrow. This chip is said to control her, and that's what's making her sleep all the time. She also claims that she is being held by a corrupt officer named P, and that she installed these webcams into her home so that she can see what happens to her when she's sleeping. This story is just so freaking creepy, and I don't think it's ever been solved. In our 7th spot today, we have Kanye Quest. Yep, not Kanye West, Kanye Quest. Kanye Quest 3030 is an RPG game that was released in 2013. Now it seems just like a silly game. It centers around Kanye West, who on his way to take out trash travels through a wormhole and into the future. He then has to take down an evil dictator, and you got Tupac, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre in it, and you can have a rap battle with them. Now the game seems pretty harmless. That was until a player found out the game's dark secret. At one point in the game, you can interact with a displayed message. It seems like gibberish at first, until people realized it said, "Ascend and worship the based god." Further on in the game, you are asked to enter a prompt, and you can type anything you want. But if you type "ascend," the whole game changes and you're put in this secret area. Eventually, players got to a screen that congratulated them on being an open-minded and curious thinker. They then instructed the player to not tell anyone about what they found. It then asks if you wish to participate. If you click yes, then they give you instructions on an exercise that you need to complete. Furthermore, players discovered a QR code that led to a now defunct website. In the end, it was discovered that the game has been tied to the religious cult of Ascensionism and to a mysterious company, Ascension Records. The true meaning of the secret of this game has remained unsolved to this day. Coming in at number 6, we have Jack Frozy. Now there are a number of creepypastas out there about someone dying and then their loved ones receive phone calls or Facebook messages or texts from the dead person. Well, this actually happened in real life. Jack Frozy was a 32-year-old man from Dunmore, Pennsylvania. In June of 2011, he died suddenly and unexpectedly from a heart arrhythmia. 5 months after Jack's death, his friend received an email from Jack's account with the subject line, "I'm watching." Soon his family started getting emails from Jack as well. Now of course they didn't believe it to be Jack for a second, but whoever it was, they knew intimate details regarding his friends and family, details only Jack would know. To this day, no one knows who sent these emails. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with GhostNet. This is the name given to a large-scale cyber spying operation uncovered in 2009. In fact, it has been described as one of the most extensive operations ever uncovered. Yet, no one knows who was behind this operation. So in 2009, it was found that an organization infiltrated over 1,000 computers across 103 countries. They did this by sending emails with attachments or links to individuals or organizations. By opening the file, the user would unknowingly download a virus onto their computer that allowed the hackers to gain complete control of their computers, so they could read and send data and even turn on someone's webcam and microphone. Like I said, no one knows who was behind this, but since the network originated in China, some believe that the Chinese government had something to do with this. Others believe that the CIA or the Russian government were behind this. In our 4th spot, we have the most mysterious song on the internet. This is the title given to a song with an unknown name, sung by an unknown artist with an unknown origin. It all started when a man named Darius came across an old cassette and liked a song on there and wanted to find the name of it. Him and his sister couldn't figure it out, so they turned to the internet for help. Soon, thousands of music enthusiasts came forward to try and figure out this song. To this day, no one has figured out who's behind this song, hence why it's given the name the most mysterious song on the internet. What's even weirder is when the song was shared online, a number of people recognized it. They said that they have heard it before, they just can't put their finger on it. In our 3rd spot, we have Markovian Parallax Denigrate. This mystery started back in the 90s and revolves around a number of weird and confusing posts that appeared to be complete gibberish. Back then, there was something called Usenet, which was like a forum. On August 5th of 1996, hundreds of weird messages started appearing on Usenet. No one knew what they meant, but people knew that they were related because each post had one thing in common. The subject line read Markovian Parallax Denigrate. Turns out that these are secret codes, but no one has been able to crack them yet. In our 2nd spot, we have Ted the Caver. Now, some say this is merely just a creepypasta, whereas others believe it's a true story. I'll let you decide what you want to think. Back in February of 2000, a man known only by the name of Ted the Caver posted about exploring an unknown virgin cave passage in the US. According to Ted and his journal entries, when him and his friend entered the cave, they found a narrow passageway with a small hole. So they drilled the hole and decided to explore it further. But as they went to explore this cave, weird things began to happen. Him and his friend heard ghastly screaming, they found weird hieroglyphs on the cave walls, and apparently encountered evil spirits in the cave that followed them home. All of this was backed up with images of him and his friend exploring the cave. The last post was on May 19th, 2001, when Ted revisited the cave and said he would update everyone when he returned home. He never updated the post, making people believe that he never returned home. In fact, this mystery was so popular that a horror movie was made off of it. And in our #1 spot today, we have the Lake City Quiet Pills. Now, this is another very weird and wild one. So it starts with the death of a Reddit user, Religion of Peace. He was a moderator for the subreddit Jailbait, which is disturbing on its own. But he mainly posted about his military experience and guns, and would encourage posts to get people to upload pictures on his website, lakecityquietpills.com. But as many investigated his site, they realized that hidden inside the site's HTML code was a motto. It said, and I quote, "Dispensing Lake City quiet pills to lousy bastards in need of permanent rest since 1968. It continued on saying, "Shade is maintaining the calendar and access to the file dump. Angel has the job postings for EU and Asia. We aren't sending anyone to me. No one. Don't ask for listings." Then what followed were what appeared to be job listings. Here are some. Immediate need, 8 to 10 Chinese Korean, fluent, Korean dialect accent, details after contact. 12-week, half pay. And they went on to say that they needed Arabic French people. No papers, no problems. A lot of people then theorized that this site was used as a way to pass assassination jobs back and forth. As people dug further, they found a government-owned bullet factory in Missouri called Lake City Ammunition Plant. Meaning, the quiet pills that they're referring to are bullets. I mean, yeah, you get shot by one of those and you'll be quiet. So maybe this website was a front for some illegal activity.
Starting off in our #10 spot, we have radio waves. Every day, thousands of times a day, Earth receives signals that come from outer space by way of radio waves. These radio waves come in super fast bursts that are only a few thousandths of a second long, so this may not seem like much, and we could just kind of chalk it up to some weird space thing we don't quite understand, but the weirdest part that makes it all the more intriguing is that some of them appear to repeat. One important clue about these bursts is in how they arrive. Higher frequency radio waves appear first, and then they are followed by ones with a lower frequency in a sort of falling or cascading effect. This is likely what is known as the propagation effect, which means that the original event, whatever is causing these radio signals to be sent out in the first place, emits all the signals at once, but the lower frequency ones travel at a slower pace. Just slightly slower than the higher ones, thus we have this delayed arrival to Earth. If this is the case, this means that wherever the signals are coming from is very, very far away. This is because it would take quite a significant amount of time for this effect to show up as clearly as it does on our telescopes, and if that's the case, and we are still able to detect them after all of those intervening millions of years of travel through space, then they must have started out as very, very bright. This was a really long way of saying, hey, we get these radio bursts every single day and we have no idea what they are or where they come from, but they just might be millions of years old. Theories as to what could be causing the waves ranges from exploding stars to colliding neutron stars, or comets smashing into neutron stars, or maybe something I'll absolutely never understand like evaporating black holes or, quote, oscillating primordial cosmic strings. In our #9 spot today, we have the origins of life. Where did life originate from? I know many people have their own theories and beliefs, and I'm not here to discredit or judge any of those. I'm just here to say that we have no evidence to prove anyone's theory. We simply just don't know, so at this point, your guess is as good as mine. Many people choose to believe that life began here on Earth, especially considering we have no evidence of life existing anywhere else in the parts of the universe that we've observed, but scientists aren't quite convinced. It's very true that life could have begun somewhere else and ended up being brought to Earth on a meteorite, or perhaps some other sort of cosmic collision is what landed uninhabited life here. Scientists aren't even exactly sure which area of science would be able to find these answers, and even if they could agree, who knows where we should even start looking. The only reason this mystery gets a little eerie is, since we don't know where life began or how it originated, who knows exactly who or what else is out there in terms of life forms. This is exactly what leads us into our next point. In our number 8 spot today we have, where is everybody? Perhaps one of the biggest space mysteries out there is, are we alone in the universe? Are we the only intelligent life that exists? Where the heck is everyone else? We can all hypothesize and make educated guesses, but at the end of the day, no one really knows, because to know, you have to have proof and evidence. There are many theories as to why we haven't found any extraterrestrial friends yet, and they range from the belief that we are the only intelligent life in the universe to the belief that we are a nursery planet right now that is protected from other advanced civilizations so as to not disrupt our development. I love this idea. We just have an alien babysitter? What is that? A weirdly comforting thought. Despite all these theories, at the end of the day, we don't know where aliens are or if they exist at all. A Pennsylvania State University team that was being led by Dr. Jason Wright made an astonishing point, however, when they said that there is no mystery. We have searched only a fraction of the galaxy equivalent to the water in a hot tub compared to all of Earth's oceans. This is certainly something to consider. As Douglas Adams puts it, quote, "Space is big. You won't believe just how vastly, hugely, mind-bogglingly big it is." In our number 7 spot today we have dark energy. Astronomer Edwin Hubble, whom the Hubble telescope is obviously named after, in the 1920s made the discovery that the universe is not static, and in fact it is actually expanding. He was studying a supernova when he realized that the universe was not only expanding, but was expanding at a much higher rate now than it was a long time ago. This discovery was groundbreaking because prior to it, scientists believed that the gravity of matter would end up at least slowing the expansion of the universe, if not causing it to contract on itself. Since this switched up everyone's way of thinking so much, there then began to be the debated topic of dark energy. This is the idea that there is this inexplicable force that is pulling all of the cosmos apart at speeds that are only increasing. Dark energy is said to make up 73% of the universe, but we still haven't been able to pin it down and directly detect it. Basically what I'm saying is that we're pretty sure it's there, but we have no idea what it is, despite it making up such a large portion of our universe. So that's just a little terrifying. In our number 6 spot today we have dark matter. Okay, if dark energy and all the mysteries it holds weren't enough, now we've got dark matter to talk about, and I'm sorry, but there's just no more answers with this one. In the 1960s and the 1970s, scientists began to hypothesize that there might be more mass in the universe than we can see. After this, an astronomer at the Carnegie Institute of Washington named Vera Rubin was studying the speeds of stars at different locations within galaxies. What she found was that there was essentially no difference in the velocity of the stars, whether they were closer to the center of the galaxy or further out. This was an interesting discovery because that defied the most basic laws of physics, right? Applying what we knew at that point, it would have made more sense for the stars on the outskirts of the galaxy to orbit more slowly than those at the center. In order to explain this, astronomers began discussing the phenomena of dark matter. It can't be seen, but it has a mass, which is how it is able to be detected because it exerts some sort of gravitational pull on regular matter. Dark matter makes up 23% of the universe, and if you remember, dark energy accounts for 73%, so that leaves us with a whole whopping 4% of matter that we understand better and know more about, which is things like humans, planets, stars, that sort of thing. The other 96% of what the universe is made of is one of space's greatest mysteries that we just can't seem to figure out yet. So, I don't know. I'm scared. In our number 5 spot today we have the galactic recoil. One of the galaxies that sits closest to us here in the Milky Way is the galaxy we refer to as the Andromeda Galaxy, and within it we have found this strangely shaped cluster of stars that has been stumping researchers for quite a while. Recently, it is possible that a newer theory might have actually found an answer to this mystery, but the answer is more terrifying than the mystery itself. This question has been around for decades, and this new research might also help researchers to better understand how galaxies grow by feeding on each other. Basically, every galaxy has a supermassive black hole at their center. I know, it's terrifying, but it's just the way it is, and there's nothing we can do about it. So this new study is showing that when two galaxies collide, which yes, also unfortunately happens, the supermassive black holes and their cores then release a huge, devastating, powerful kickback. It's like the recoil from a shotgun. This new study and research is now showing and suggesting that this kickback may be so strong that it can knock millions of stars into like different wonky, strange orbits, and then that would be the answer as to why this star cluster behaves so strangely. Basically, the collision and the waves won't affect the stars in the galaxy directly, but then the recoil is going to throw the remaining supermassive black hole through space, and when I say throw, I'm talking about this black hole traveling at millions of miles per hour, and we also have to remember that supermassive black holes have a mass that can be millions and even billions times that of the sun. This means that the kickback could be powerful enough for them to entirely escape the galaxy, and if they don't, they may pull the orbit of the stars around them, thus creating this wonky situation we've been wondering about. Of course, that was the most basic way of explaining it, because I mean, I'm not an expert, I'm a YouTuber, but it's crazy. In our number 4 spot today, we have asteroids. Every year this is a prediction that comes up, and it's the sort of cosmic event that makes people believe that this is the year an apocalypse-inducing asteroid is going to collide with Earth. Of course, scientists work diligently to detect anything that might be on a path to Earth and might threaten our wonderful planet, but like anything, sometimes things slip through and we get a frightening surprise, like what happened just a few years ago. On August 16th, 2020, just after midnight in eastern US time, a small asteroid buzzed past our planet just 2,950 kilometers above Earth's surface. That may seem like a far way away, but in terms of asteroids, that is a miss that is too close for comfort. Here's the worst part. The asteroid was only discovered a few hours after it made its close approach to Earth. The good news is that this is because of the size, because it wasn't a relatively huge one, and if it hadn't have missed and ended up colliding with Earth, it either would have broken up in the atmosphere or it wouldn't have been super catastrophic, world-ending sort of a thing. What I'm trying to say is that while it is something we are tracking and keeping tabs on, there's a lot of sky and space to cover, and you never know what might slip through the cracks. In our number 3 spot today, we have bye-bye galaxies. Okay, did you know that galaxies can die? I didn't until I learned about this. It is said that the universe is about 13.8 billion years old. When it was just a youngster at only 3 billion years old, it was going through an extremely important period in its development, and this was the most prolific period of star birth in its entire history. New research from NASA using the Hubble Space Telescope along with the Atacama Large Millimeter Submillimeter Array in northern Chile, they gazed towards the cosmic objects in this period, and that is when they found something that hadn't been seen before. 6 different dead galaxies. By this, I mean that they had run out of the cold hydrogen needed to make stars, and without the fuel for stars, these galaxies were basically running on empty. At this point in our universe, all of the galaxies should have been forming tons of stars. I mean, ours certainly was, as can be seen by a glance towards the night sky, especially in areas that aren't clouded by light pollution. This discovery is absolutely fascinating, but it's led us to a new question we didn't even know we had before. What led these galaxies to this point, and what happened to all of the cold gas in them so early on? The 6 galaxies lived fast, hot lives, but we aren't sure what went wrong. Lead author and assistant professor of astronomy at the University of Massachusetts, Amherst, Kate Whitaker, proposed several potential explanations and gave us insight into the future of the studies when she said, quote, "Did a supermassive black hole in the galaxy's center turn on and heat up all of the gas? If so, the gas could still be there, but now it's hot. Or it could have been expelled and now it's being prevented from accreting back into the galaxy. Or did the galaxy just use it all up and the supply is cut off?" The questions really are endless, and it's unclear whether we'll ever know the answers for sure or not. In our number 2 spot today, we have how big is the universe? Okay, so we have our sun, which is a star that is surrounded by, we'll say, 9 planets, and that makes up our solar system. Our solar system is located within the Milky Way galaxy, and it is currently believed that there are about 100 to 400 billion stars within our galaxy, and at least that many planets, but likely more. That's a lot of planets and stars floating around in our galaxy alone, but that's not it. In our observable universe, the things we can tangibly see, there are about 150 billion other galaxies. And that's just what we can see. That number could technically go on for, well, that's exactly the thing. We don't know how much that number could grow, but it's theorized that the number is 250 times higher than the 150 billion that we can see. That's an incomprehensible amount, and that's just galaxies. When we take that knowledge and apply it to how many solar systems that would mean and how many planets, I can totally understand why we may never know for sure just how big the universe is, but it really does have this ability to make you feel exceptionally small. This, coupled with the theories of how the universe is infinite and always expanding, and things get even more convoluted. Just trying to wrap my head around it is a struggle in itself. In our number 1 spot today, we have, how will the universe end? Perhaps a morbid question, but it's a good one. I mean, all good things must come to an end, and that might include the universe itself, but maybe it doesn't. I mean, we don't know. That's the whole point of this video. There are theories such as the Big Crunch, which suggests that the expansion of the universe, which has been ongoing since the Big Bang, will eventually slow to a stop, and then the universe will give way to the force of gravity, essentially just pulling everything, planets, galaxies, it all, into a single dense point until everything is just wiped out. There are other theories out there such as the Big Freeze, the Big Bounce, or the Big Rip, which sounds the most terrifying of them all, although I'm not particularly interested in any of the options so far. The good news is that this is all billions and billions of years away, so we won't be around to find out regardless, but when it does happen, it'll be a pretty spectacular event.
Kicking off the list at number 10, Alzheimer's. Roughly 500,000 new cases of Alzheimer's are diagnosed each year. Whenever we hear about somebody developing it, more often than not, they're older, right? We often make jokes if someone forgets something like, oh, you're getting older, Alzheimer's are kicking in. It's common at this point, but we still don't know why or where it comes from. Alzheimer's is an irreversible degeneration of the brain that causes disruptions in memory, personality, cognition. Every 3 seconds in the world, somebody develops dementia. Annual healthcare spending adds thousands if you're suffering from Alzheimer's, and more than 16 million Americans are providing unpaid care for somebody with Alzheimer's right now. It's the 5th leading cause of death for those 65 and older. There's early onset and late onset Alzheimer's. There's 2 categories. There's no cure for either. Scientists are still trying to figure out what causes the disease, but so far, a leading theory is that Alzheimer's is caused by a pileup of these proteins called amyloids, which harm the brain. This is a theory, but medicine that clears amyloids from the brain aren't doing the trick. Hopefully in a future video we break down the cure to Alzheimer's, but until then, Alzheimer's remains a biological mystery, hence why we're here. Number 9, but why? And then I talk about holes right after. We'll try and lighten up the mood here just a little bit. Here's a fun fact. Scientists aren't sure why we have an anus, a butt, the whole we're so obsessed with them in pop culture and we don't even know why we have them. Yeah, next time Sir Mix-a-Lot sings about liking big butts, somebody pull him aside and just ask him why, Be like, Mr. Mix, why do you like big butts? Why can't you lie about them? Catherine Roux, science writer from The Atlantic, explains more of this biological mystery in their study titled "The Body's Most Embarrassing Organ is an Evolutionary Marvel." Great title, couldn't have nailed it more. Before the anus came around town, animals would eat and excrete through the same way. They would just and then spit it out. Then all of a sudden, butts come into the mix, the Sir Mix-a-Lot, and now animals can become bigger, stronger, and stinkier. We still have no idea which creature had the first anus. That's a sick title. I want that. I really want that. The first guy with a asshole. It's like, look at this dude. Look at this little caterpillar. Little an ass dude. Catherine Wu explains in that report, which I highly recommend that you read for yourself. Of course I did after reading that title. She said it's hard to study something that must be millions of years old and also doesn't fossilize. Yeah, there's no bones in your butt. That'd be weird. It's a big old hard butt. I've talked about butts too much. Let's just put this behind us, Leave it in the rear. Put it up our, I'm out of puns. Let's move on. Number 8, Ebola's origins. I know we're all a little preoccupied with some other stuff right now, but here's another fun mystery to add to that list. Ebola. We're at the point now with Ebola that we're treating monkeys. We're out of the woods for the most part, panic-wise, but scientists are still trying to figure out where this thing even came from in the first place. The first known case of Ebola occurred in 1976 in Sudan in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Over 600 people got sick, and now come 2005, we're trying to find its origins. More than 1,000 animals in Central Africa were tested. We tested 679 bats, 222 birds, 129 small vertebrates, and the only animal found with Ebola was bats. Specifically, 3 types of fruit bat. It's still unclear whether bats are reservoirs for the virus or if this was a bat infection that also affected people. Hence the mystery. We're still trying to figure that out, believe me. Number 7, the appendix. It's been around for quite some time, that's for sure, but are we even sure why we have an appendix anymore? This organ causes a lot of discomfort. More often than not, you'll have it removed, and it's now a standard procedure. It's so common, but why is removing an organ from your body common? Why are we just like, oh, you're doing that thing? Great, I've heard about that. That's your time. No, this is weird. We're taking a thing out of our body, and then stitching it, ugh. Well, what scientists do know about this whole process is that our plant-eating ancestors for sure needed it. They needed an appendix for digestion, but cut to us, we still have it because we're at that point in evolution in the middle where we don't need it anymore. That's the leading theory here. But another theory that's more recent is that we have 2 types of bacteria in our colon. A lot of ass talk in this one. The nasty type causes infections and harms tissues and all that bad stuff, but other types of bacteria are good, as odd as that sounds. It doesn't harm the colon, and when the subject takes antibiotics, they get rid of bacteria in the colon. The appendix job is to store good bacteria when the colon is being flushed out. That way, the good stuff can still stay in control. Still mysterious, but the brilliant scientists at the University of Arizona are getting to the bottom of it. I had one more pun. I waited for this one. There we go. Now I'm done, I swear. Number 6, blushing. Okay, picture this. You're standing near your locker, it's high school, Blake rolls up on some Heelys, does a cool hockey stop, everybody looks over, he puts his longboard to the side, pulls out flowers, and Roller Blake is now asking you to prom. You immediately start to blush, right? You're feeling all that hot, panicky, your face gets hot. This is a sign of embarrassment, or you're happy, or you're confused. What is blushing, and why is it so damn obvious all the time? Let's talk about it. The origins of blushing, and whether or not humans started doing it to maximize personal gain, is the true mystery here. Charles Darwin was scratching his head over this. Why do humans call their own bluff when they lie, but animals don't? One leading theory is that humans did it to submit authority, but over time, as our social interactions changed and became more complex, blushing was a behavioral trait that represented guilt or embarrassment. Scientists have noted that women blush more than men, and we think it's because women would usually show their honesty to men by blushing, right? We're looking at this in a reproductive, animalistic way. They would blush so that they can produce an offspring. That's like the OG origins, but the other stuff we still don't know about. Hence the mystery, hence this list. Number 5, lying. Okay, I think it's time to admit that we all lie. Just a little. Kanye West lies in Jail Part 2. We all liars. So good. Robert Feldman, University of Massachusetts, psychologist, he words it really well. He says when it comes to white lies, we're trying not so much to impress other people, but rather to maintain a view of ourselves that is consistent with the way that they would like us to be, which is a great way of saying, I just lied to you. I'm gonna start using that one. Next time I bail on my friends and they get mad, I'm just gonna be like, look guys, I wanted to come, but I needed to uphold the way that you view me as the guy who always bails last minute. Just gotta keep it going or else who am I, right? If I didn't bail, then I'm a liar. Like what's your true agenda? We don't know exactly why we lie, but it starts when we're young. Children start lying at the age of 4 to 6. Now this, weirdly, is a good thing. This means that they're learning. Humans lie to avoid hurting themselves or to avoid getting in trouble. But it's not always primal. Sometimes we lie to make others feel better. That's the mystery. Of course that turtleneck looks good on you. Number 4, dark thoughts. Okay, we'll get a little darker for this one. We've been a little silly, now we'll get back to the vibe. But humans thinking about what happens to them after they die, despite how it feels, it's a normal thought. We read books about dreaming and we try and piece together every little thing that we remember, but like I talked about in part 1, dreaming is also still a mystery here as well. The brain is fascinating and we're at least a little curious what happens to it after we die. From time to time, humans think of their own death. You'd be lying there at night and you're like, oh, if I was in a hospital right now, who would come see me? It's like, is it weird? Is it bad? Is it a bad sign? No, it's pretty normal. Palin Kasabir, scientist and psychologist at the Center of Healthy Minds at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, believes that thinking about your own inevitable death causes anxiety for some, but others think about dying as immense clarity and wisdom. I've heard it's exactly like before you were born, and if that's the case, sign me up, because I don't remember paying for my phone before then. You know what I mean? No bills before that. Just darkness, a lot of sleep, no food, and no bills. Good time. The mystery here is why we so commonly daydream of our own death. That's what I'm really talking about here. Do you think animals had that same thought? Or are they too focused on eating and surviving to daydream who would show up at their funeral? Humans are strange. Number 3, hair. To be specific, we're talking about hair, you know, down in the southern regions. The southern south, hair down, pubic hair. We're talking about pubic hair. Pubic hair is a biological mystery, and yes, even after we hit puberty, we still can't figure it out. Of course, we have many theories, but no definitive answers. So far, we believe this is a part of our evolutionary history, and it comes from a time where humans needed fur all over their bodies. Robin Weiss at the University College London made a pretty remarkable observation. At some point, our pubic hair became thicker than the rest of our hair on our body. That's the mystery here. Our best guess is protection against cold, or to protect the genitals during intercourse, or to prevent chafing from running around and doing parkour and all that stuff. All the normal stuff. Pubic hair, still a mystery. Number 2, the basking shark. Pubic hair and sharks, we got it all. Okay, on part 1 of this list, I went in on hammerhead sharks. A bit too hard, I'll admit, with the goofy eyes. I'm doing it again, I called them goofy. Sorry. If you're a hammerhead shark, My bad. So on part 3, I have to shine the light on another shark, the basking shark. The basking shark translates to large-nosed sea monster, and honestly, yep, pretty much nailed it. They swim through the surface of waters and search for tiny little food, plankton to be specific. Despite how big their mouths are, yeah, they eat plankton. They're just like, and they eat dust. It's crazy. We'll go years without seeing one of these guys, but once we do, we're in luck because more often than not, basking sharks travel in large numbers, found in both the Atlantic and the Pacific. As of 2019, basking sharks were considered endangered. Overfishing, of course, is to blame for that one. The biological mystery here in this one is not her giant mouth, of course, but the fact that the basking shark females only have one functioning ovary, and it's the same every time. It's always the right one. Mystery. Yeah, the big mouth part is not the mystery you thought, eh? You really thought I was gonna say. No, that's normal. That's just shark stuff. Hashtag just sharky things. And finally, number 1, blood types. A, B, AB, and O. Those are the 4 main blood groups. Each can be RHD positive and each can be RHD negative. So there's actually 8 groups in total. O positive is the most common, while AB negative is the most rare. If you're AB negative, congratulations, you're rare and your blood is rare. Now I'm starting to sound like a vampire. When donating blood or receiving it, you need to know which type of blood you need, of course. It's important that you know which type of blood that you need. Different types fight off different infections. Now scientists believe this began around 20 million years ago. Just like the appendix, this mystery kicked off long before us. We don't really know why blood types change among us, and the reason that we're A positive or B negative, like many things in this series, is a biological mystery. Dr. Mohammed Mobayed of Promedica Hematology and Oncology Associates explains on thehealthy.com that natural selection would provide unique blood types to beat specific infections. So if you're ever wondering why our blood type is different even in your family with the same genes, well, get in line. Lots of scientists are still trying to figure this one out.
Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have how big is the universe? Okay, so we have our sun, which is a star that is surrounded by, we'll say 9 planets, and that makes up our solar system. Our solar system is located within the Milky Way galaxy, and it is currently believed that there are about 200 other solar systems in our galaxy. That's a lot of planets floating around in our galaxy alone, but that's not it. In our observable universe, the things we can tangibly see, there's about 150 billion other galaxies. And that's just what we can see. That number could technically go on for, well, that's exactly the thing. We don't know how much that number could grow, but it's been theorized that the number is 250 times higher than the 150 billion we can see. That's like an incomprehensible amount, and that's just galaxies. When we take that knowledge and apply it to how many solar systems that would mean, and how many planets that would mean, I can totally understand why we may never know for sure just how big the universe is, but this really does have the ability to make you feel exceptionally small. In our number 9 spot today, we have energetic cosmic rays. Energetic cosmic rays are described as high-energy protons and atomic nuclei that move through space at nearly the speed of light. There are some that originate from supernovas, but there are some that originate from outside of our galaxy, and those ones have scientists wondering where they are coming from and what the source of them is. As these cosmic rays flow into our solar system, their paths are bent by the magnetic fields of both the sun and the earth. Upon impact with Earth's atmosphere, these rays produce a shower of secondary particles. Some of these particles do end up reaching Earth, but most are intercepted by either the magnetosphere or the heliosphere. The strongest cosmic rays are extremely powerful, and they can have energies over 100 million times greater than a man-made collider. If you're wondering why you should care about this space mystery, it's because these things have the power to cause our digital systems to crash, and in our ever-increasing digital world, that would cause some major disruptions to our life. This is why we care about how many of their origins remain a complete mystery that has scientists stumped. And also because shouldn't we just know where these things that are bombarding Earth's atmosphere are coming from? In our number 8 spot today, we have what is dark energy? Astronomer Edwin Hubble, whom the Hubble telescope is obviously named after, in the 1920s made the discovery that the universe is not static and in fact is actually expanding. He was studying a supernova when he realized that the universe was not only expanding, but it was expanding at a much higher rate now than it was a long time ago. This discovery was groundbreaking because prior to this, scientists believed that the gravity of matter would end up at least slowing the expansion of the universe, if not causing it to contract. Since this switched up everyone's way of thinking so much, there then began to be the debated topic of dark energy. This is the idea that there is an inexplicable force that is pulling the cosmos apart at speeds that are only increasing. Dark energy is said to make up 73% of the universe, but we still haven't been able to pin it down directly and detect it. Basically what I'm saying is we're pretty sure it's there, but we have no idea what it is. So that's a little terrifying. In our number 7 spot today, we have what is dark matter? Okay, if dark energy and all the mysteries it holds weren't enough, now we've got dark matter to talk about, and I'm sorry, but there's no more answers with this one either. In the 1960s and 1970s, scientists began to hypothesize that there might be more mass in the universe than we can see. After this, an astronomer with the Carnegie Institution of Washington named Vera Rubin was studying the speed of stars at different locations within galaxies. What she found was that there was essentially no difference in the velocity of the stars whether they were closer to the center of the galaxy or whether they were further out. This was an interesting discovery because that defied the most basic laws of physics, right? Like applying what we knew at that point, it would have made more sense for the stars on the outskirts of the galaxy to orbit more slowly than those at the center. In order to explain this and why this was happening, astronomers began discussing the phenomena of dark matter. It can't be seen, but it has a mass, which is how it is able to be detected because it exerts some sort of gravitational pull on regular matter. Dark matter makes up 23% of the universe, and if you remember, dark energy accounts for 73%, so that leaves us with a whopping 4% of matter that we understand better and know more about, which is matter like humans, planets, stars, and that sort of thing. The other 96% of what the universe is made of is one of space's greatest mysteries. In our number 6 spot today, we have the sun. The extra hot outer atmosphere of the sun is called the corona. It extends thousands of kilometers above the visible surface of the sun, and it ends up transforming into solar wind that flows throughout our solar system. The corona is usually sitting at a temperature of 500,000 to 6 million degrees Celsius, or 900,000 to 10.8 million degrees Fahrenheit. Apparently for years, scientists have been stumped on how exactly the sun has the ability to continually reheat the corona. Astronomers have been able to narrow down all of the possibilities to energy beneath the surface and some sort of processes in the sun's magnetic field, but the exact mechanics of the coronal heating is still highly debated. Just last year in June of 2020, however, scientists did get one step closer to potentially being able to answer this question. There were tiny bursts of energy detected called nanoflares, and this might be what is responsible for the heating of the outer atmosphere. In our number 5 spot today, we have KIC 8462852. Ah yes, the star with the most memorable name. This star, which has also been referenced as Tabby's star or the WTF star, is an F-type main sequence star which is located in the constellation Cygnus about 1,470 light years away from Earth. This star is of particular importance because of the fact that it shows unusual light shifts, which includes a 22% dimming in brightness. Basically, from our point of view, something continually blocks the star, and it likely isn't a planet because a Jupiter-sized planet would only block about 1% of a star the size of this one. So what could it possibly be? There are a few theories out there surrounding this anomaly, but none are able to fully explain what is happening here. Some believe that it is some sort of uneven ring of dust orbiting the star. Others believe that the star's luminosity fluctuates depending on the efficiency of the heat being transported to its photosphere. These are just two of the theories surrounding the star, but there are many more out there, and at this point we just don't know. Hopefully once the James Webb Telescope is launched, however, we will be able to get a more clear picture of what may be happening over there on KIC 8462852. In our number 4 spot today, we have a supermassive black hole. Why is there a supermassive black hole at the center of most galaxies? We know that this is often the case, but we just can't figure out why. Every galaxy's supermassive black hole ranges in size, and we know that a stellar black hole forms from a supernova when the core of the star implodes, but we don't know how a supermassive black hole is formed. Because of the fact that the center of galaxies is where a lot of matter is boxed in, it could happen that supermassive black holes form from a cluster of regular stellar black holes which end up all merging together because they were in a tight confined space at the center of the galaxy. There are other theories as well, such as the possibility of these supermassive black holes being formed during the Big Bang. What I'm trying to get at is we don't know how these things are formed, or why they're in the center of most galaxies, or even if there were supermassive black holes before the galaxies even existed. Maybe one day we'll find out, but this might just be one of those mysteries destined to stay a secret. In our number 3 spot today we have the space roar. Space is a vacuum, so it should be silent, right? Well, apparently it's not. It is said that the entire universe is alive with sound, and there is a thing called a space roar. Space roar apparently isn't an everyday sound and is rather these strange radio signals that scientists have detected throughout space. These signals are so loud that they are able to drown out other signals, which can be quite annoying for the scientists who are trying to study and learn. While we know what the sound is, we don't know where it is coming from. Apparently some people believe it was coming from the leftover radiation from early stars, and some others believe it was from the gases swirling around the galaxy in clusters, but at the end of the day, no one is really sure, and it remains one noisy mystery. In our number 2 spot today we have, how will the universe end? Perhaps a morbid question, but it's a good one. I mean, all good things must come to an end, and that might include our universe itself. But maybe it doesn't. I mean, we don't know. That's the whole point of this video. There are theories, such as the Big Crunch, which suggests that the expansion of the universe, which has been ongoing since the Big Bang, will eventually slow to a stop, and then the universe will give way to the force of gravity, essentially just pulling everything, planets, galaxies, it all into a single dense point until everything is just wiped out. There are other theories out there, such as the Big Freeze, the Big Bounce, or the Big Rip, which perhaps sounds the most terrifying of them all, although I'm not particularly interested in any of these options so far. The good news is, this is all billions and billions of years away, so we won't be around to find out regardless. But when it does happen, it'll be a pretty spectacular event. In our number 1 spot today we have, where is everybody? Perhaps one of the biggest space mysteries is, are we alone in the universe? Are we the only intelligent life that exists? Where the heck is everyone else? We can all hypothesize and make educated guesses, but at the end of the day, no one really knows, because to know, you have to have proof and evidence. There are many theories as to why we haven't found any extraterrestrial friends yet, and they range from the belief that we are the only intelligent life in the universe, to the belief that we are a nursery planet right now that is protected from other advanced civilizations so as to not disrupt our development. I kinda like that idea. Imagine we're just currently being taken care of by our sweet alien next door neighbors. That's a weirdly comforting thought. Despite all these theories, at the end of the day, we don't know where aliens are or if they exist at all. A Pennsylvania State University team that was being led by Dr. Jason Wright made an astonishing point, however, when they said that there is no mystery. We have searched only a fraction of the galaxy, equivalent to the water in a hot tub compared to all of Earth's oceans. This is certainly something to consider. As Douglas Adams put it, space is big, you just won't believe how vastly, hugely, mind-bogglingly big it is. Starting off this list in our number 10 spot we have, how did the galaxies form? When you look out into the night sky with a telescope, you'll see a lot of what you think are stars, but many of these points of light are actually galaxies. Galaxies are made up of stars, dust, and dark matter, which are all held together by gravity, but here's the thing. Astronomers aren't exactly sure how our galaxies came to be. After the Big Bang occurred, space was mostly made up of hydrogen and helium, but galaxies as we know them weren't a thing yet. There are of course speculations as to what may have happened, like gravity pulling dust and gas together to form individual stars, and then as those stars were drawn closer together, they ended up forming collections that turned into galaxies. Others think the mass of what would one day end up being galaxies was drawn together even before the stars were created. At this point in time, it's all theories and no one is quite sure what the real answer is. I mean, at the end of the day, we weren't even close to existing yet, so can you blame anyone for not having all of the answers? In our number 9 spot today we have missing stars. It would seem insane to think that a star could just vanish, right? But that's exactly what might be happening. For thousands of years, astronomers had accepted the idea that stars were just fixed and unchanging, but that slowly shifted into the realization that stars are physical objects, and they go through major changes very slowly, like on a timeline of millions or billions of years. And when it is time for some of the most massive stars in the universe to reach the end of their lives, they go out with a bang. Almost literally. The supernova explosion is spectacular and can sometimes shine for many months and even be seen across hundreds of millions of light years. This brings us to the mystery of some stars that seemingly just vanish in the blink of an eye. According to what we know about stars, that shouldn't be the case. So where are they going? This has led to there being teams of scientists and experts who are examining both current as well as past observations of the sky to see if there is any sort of pattern when it comes to these disappearing stars, as well as to find the answers as to where they have gone. In our number 8 spot today, we have the Galactic Phantom. Our galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy, is quite honestly pretty massive, but what if I told you there's some sort of hypothetical massive celestial cloud right in the middle of it? The Oort cloud isn't just some sort of hypothetical object, it is an entire hypothetical expanse of space that we're maybe kind of pretty sure exists. The reason we think this thing exists even though it's invisible is because of comets that follow a bizarre orbit that's in sync with something that seems to be this sort of massive celestial cloud. Everything in our solar system has a bit of a gravitational connection to this cloud, and it's possible that everything is surrounded by it. So what I'm trying to say is that we might all basically be engulfed in this cloud but have absolutely no idea because we can't see it. If the Oort cloud doesn't exist, then what is causing these things? And if it does exist, well, what is it? In our number 7 spot today, we have travel at the speed of light. Here's the thing, nothing except for maybe some sort of situation regarding quantum entanglement, which we will get into shortly, can travel faster at the speed of light. It's the fastest thing we know of. So now, here's our question. Will humans ever be able to travel at the speed of light? At the speed of light, someone could travel 299,792,458 meters per second. This means that you could circle the Earth more than 7 times in 1 single second. That's super fast, and if humans could travel at these speeds, it would mean that we would finally be able to travel outside of our own solar system, which would provide us immeasurable insight into what lies in the universe. In 1947, humans were able to figure out how to travel faster than the speed of sound, re jets, and while this is a much slower speed, it's still a technological advancement that should not be overlooked. As of what we know right now, the answer to this question regarding the speed of light is no, but what if that's just because we don't have the technology now? That doesn't mean we won't ever. In our number 6 spot today, we have how fast is the universe expanding. For quite a few years now, the Hubble Space Telescope has been calculating the speed at which the universe is expanding, because if you didn't know, the universe is constantly expanding. I guess I should have led with that, but we're all on the same page now regardless. So recently the telescope came up with what is now accepted as the most precise measurements we've ever had. That's great and very cool, so where's the mystery? Well, this rate is a huge conflict with other independent and apparently equally as precise measurements in regard to the expansion of the early universe. Why is this an issue? Well, it means we know even less about our universe than we once thought. How terrifying. Apparently the scientific community has been reeling over this discovery because no one is really sure exactly what it means. Great, so we know nothing about the universe or the Marianas Trench. I'm starting to wonder what we do know about. In our number 5 spot today, we have the shape of the universe. No, this isn't some Guillermo del Toro knockoff, no one is trying to get with the Oort cloud, it's just a super valid scientific mystery. Scientists have a lot of theories about the potential shape of the universe, but at this moment, the leading one is that it is flat and infinite. Okay, that is both terrifying and cool, and it's also weird to think of the entire universe as having a shape. Here's the thing with this theory though, since the universe has a known beginning and potentially an end point, we can only observe a certain amount of it, so how are we really to know? As NASA has said in the past, all we can truly conclude is that the universe is much larger than the volume we can directly observe. There's something freaky about the people who would be the ones to have the answer, not having the answer. The universe is truly just unfathomable. In our number 4 spot today, we have are there parallel universes? So everything is made up of little tiny particles, right? And there's only so many ways that those particles can be arranged in space and time. Some would call this a finite amount of ways that they could be arranged. And then the universe where all of these particles live is possibly flat and infinite. right? Well, at least, like we just discussed, it's theorized to maybe be. And if this is the case, do you see where I'm going? So if the universe is infinite and the particles that exist in it have a finite amount of ways that they can be arranged, surely means that somewhere out there things would have to start repeating. Right? I think at this point you see where I'm going with this. I mean, the deduction is certainly scientific, but it just seems so hard to really wrap my mind around. I guess we need to have the answer to our previous question before we can even begin looking into this one. What if there really is a reality parallel to ours? I hope the other version of me is cool and has like pink hair or something like that. In our number 3 spot today, we have what came before the Big Bang. Some of you out there don't like hearing about the Big Bang, and that's okay, but today we are talking about it because it is likely what created the universe. I mean, really, do you have any better, more scientifically accurate theories? Okay, this isn't a fight, so let's get to the question. What happened before the Big Bang? Well, no one knows for sure because, no one was around. I mean, almost nothing was around, so what could there have been? Something obviously had to exist for the Big Bang to have occurred at all, but what? Stephen Hawking apparently didn't have time for this question though, because he states that not only did nothing exist, but anything that happened before the universe came into existence lacks observational consequence, so we may as well cut it all out of the theory and say that time began at the Big Bang. I like to ask big questions, but to save my brain from exploding, I might have to agree with the brilliant Mr. Hawking. In our number 2 spot today, we have where did the moon come from? Our moon is our beloved sidekick that really helps us keep everything balanced here on Earth due to the gravitational pull that it has, and while we can't really think of an Earth without the moon, where did it actually come from? I mean, it was 100 million years after the solar system was formed that our moon showed up, but where did it come from? The most accepted theory at the moment is the collision theory, which states that the moon formed during a collision between Earth and another small planet around the size of Mars, and that the debris from the impact collected in orbit around Earth, and boom, our bestie the moon was born. But like I said, this is just the theory that seems the most likely, but it's entirely possible that this isn't true at all, because we simply just don't know for sure. Either way, whatever happened, I'm glad it did because the moon is tight and it helps us with a bunch of stuff like our axial tilt, which is super important to our lives as we know them. So, shout out to the moon. In our number 1 spot today, we have quantum entanglement. I honestly spent so much time trying to figure out a Will Smith joke to go with this one, but I just couldn't seem to figure it out, so if you've got any, drop them down in the comments and make me laugh. In reality, quantum entanglement is the phenomenon where two different particles, which are in totally different parts of the universe, can be linked to one another and mirror the behavior and state of the other partner. This is a very interesting phenomenon for a few reasons, part of which is because it breaks some of the fundamental laws of physics. For these particles to be connected from so far away, they need to be sending signals to each other, but these signals need to travel faster than the speed of light, which is not something that was once thought possible, like we already know. Another mystery surrounding this entanglement is that objects are only supposed to be affected by their surroundings, so something happening on the other side of the universe affecting something on this side is certainly just strange. Despite these seeming impossibilities, studies suggest that quantum entanglement really does exist, and although we don't quite understand it, one day it might be very useful to us.
Number 10! The planet Mercury, not the element, of course. The mystery of Mercury will probably never be solved because we have a lot on our plate at the moment, but also because the mysteries themselves are just boggling. One, it's too close to the sun to get a proper look at it, but the tidbits of information we have been able to capture still lead to more questions. For a while, scientists believed that Mercury's terrain had been burnt up by the sun, which makes sense, but then a spacecraft discovered delicate volatiles like potassium and uranium that should have been destroyed that close to the sun. Their mere presence argued even against the well-established theory that Mercury has a massive metallic core. The Messenger probe completed 4,105 orbits in order to accumulate enough data to understand how Mercury formed, but instead of answers, they just got more questions. It found evidence of volcanic activity, interacting with water, and even ice lurking in polar craters, similar to that on our very own moon. How does water survive on a planet that close to the sun? Turns out there's a lot we don't know about this scorching planet, and chances are we will never truly find out. Or maybe we will. Who knows? Nothing's that impossible. Number 9, the Great Attractor. We all know someone who thinks they're the center of the universe. You know, the universe revolves around them, but I ain't talking about you, Karen, okay? The Great Attractor is a mystery that dominates our little corner of the universe. About 200 million light years away, there's a cluster in space that appears to be pulling our galaxy towards it. Its gravitational force is so strong enough to pull our massive galaxy along for the ride wherever the heck it's going at 600 kilometers per second. So what are we waiting for? Point a telescope towards that thing and figure out what it is. But there's just one problem with that. We are in our own way. Our galaxy with all the dust, gas, and stars is sitting right in front of it, like the guy with the big head at the movie theaters that you're just too short to see over. Scientists are skeptical that we will ever find out what it is before dark matter eventually destroys it or we become a supercluster. We don't really know. Number 7, the white holes. Good versus evil. Light versus dark. Love versus hate. Opposites are a natural part of the universe, which is why Einstein said that if black holes exist, then white holes must too. Holes that emit light versus take it away. Thing is, we have never seen them, but just like parallel universes, they should exist, but so far we can't really prove it. Despite lack of physical evidence, logic and mathematical proof continues to support the theory to this day. If we do find one though, what would that mean? Could it mean that the light sucked into black holes does indeed transport to another point in the galaxy? Do they work as gateways? I don't know. Unless we find one, we just gotta wait. Number 6, chicken or the egg? Though in this case I mean black hole or galaxy. Unless we hopped into the TARDIS and flew all the way back to the beginning of the universe, there's no way we will discover just exactly what happened. Even then, I'm pretty sure the Doctor has already crossed too many timelines, but who knows? Scientists are baffled and continue to debate as to whether black holes, or galaxies, were the first to form at the beginning. Chicken meet egg. Chris Carrilli of the National Radio Astronomy Observatory in New Mexico does side mostly with black holes, and I quote, "The significant implication that the black holes formed first and then somehow they formed a stellar galaxy around them," unquote. But there are still studies that say different, and it will probably continue to be studied and theorized for the end of time. We have no idea. We're never gonna find out. Someone build a time machine. David Tennant, rescue us! Anyways, or Tom Baker, but he's a bit old now, that's okay. Number 5, Planet 9. Surprisingly, I'm not talking about Pluto. I think it is an emotional decision as to whether you consider Pluto a planet at this point. It's not really considered a planet, but if you grew up considering it part of the rhyme, then, you know, you do you. Either way, scientists apparently believe that there is another planet yet to be included in our solar system. We just don't know where it is. Like what? Planet 9, or 10 depending how you look at it, is theorized to be an undiscovered planet at the fringes of our solar system. Based on the orbital trajectories of Uranus and Neptune, there are irregularities that make scientists narrow their eyes and make a thinking face like this. Konstantin Batkin, an assistant professor of the planetary science at the California Institute of Tech, believe that there is an object between 5 to 10 times larger than Earth trying to pull things out of whack. Maybe it's a planet, or maybe it's something else, but the search remains ongoing. Maybe one of the Voyagers will find it, or maybe we should call Pluto a planet and stop breaking hearts. Number 3. Where the heck is everybody? Alien theories are alien theories, and who knows if the government is hiding proof that alien life has visited and is currently having coffee in the White House. Bottom line, where the heck is everybody? Our solar system is pretty much empty despite some microbes we were checking out on Venus, pretty cool. But besides that, where is everybody? How the heck am I standing here recording a video for potentially 7 million of you, but I haven't had a conversation with an alien yet? I feel betrayed and lied to. For every grain of sand on every beach on Earth, this is just such an insane fact, there are 100 planets that are capable of sustaining biological life. We can't be the only ones sitting on computers of some kind wondering the same thing, sending out signals, but it's so quiet. The Fermi paradox, coined by Enric Fermi in the 1950s, attempts to explain this, and to date no one has been able to solve it, though it's, again, not really solvable. There are two categories. One is that we are the only intelligent life, and two, that there is just a good reason we haven't been found. One being that they are staying hidden and actually watching us. So that's literally the best we got. That's it. That's it. That they're just aliens just somehow like sitting over here. Just like, oh shit, no, don't want to see me. Like that's what it's like. They're just hiding in a corner and they've been watching us this entire time. Number 1, the giant void. This one blows my mind. If I like look up at the sky, it's just insane. Ever go camping, not just in your backyard, but somewhere way up north, away from city lights, and if it's a clear night, you may look up and wonder just how the universe could be so full. But what you may not know is that behind those stars, way out there, is a giant void in space filled with nothing except for dark matter and dark energy. Boote's void has scientists baffled. It's essentially a hole in the universe where galaxies never formed, except for maybe a couple. Around 350 million light years wide and a billion light years from Earth, scientists can't seem to unravel why nothing formed there. It's not a black hole, though it is a black hole in space, filled with nothing. Whatever it is, it's causing scientists to reevaluate how the universe started, and we may never really find the answer. One hypothesis is that the void formed when two smaller ones collided, but that's about all we have in terms of theories.
Starting us off with number 10 are the Dropa stones. Now misleadingly, they aren't stones at all, but circular stone discs. The discs dated back around 12,000 years when they were first found in the early 60s, and there was a whopping 716 of them. Each one was around 1 foot in diameter with 2 grooves coming from the hole in the center. They also have tiny hieroglyphic markings inside the grooves that we've never seen before. In 1962, some Nui said he had managed to decipher the message and that it told the story of a spaceship that crashed into the cave they were found in, and that the shape had Dropa people in it who couldn't fix the discs and hence had to adapt to life on Earth. He believed the discs came from space because one glyph in particular said this: the Dropa came down from the clouds in their aircraft. Our men, women and children hid in the caves 10 times before sunrise. When at last we understood the sign language of the Dropas, we realized that the newcomers had peaceful intentions. The weirdest part is that the discs were reported to have been displayed around many museums in China, but none of them have any traces of the Dropa stones ever being there. Moreover, there's no record of Sum Nui being a Chinese name or any link to him and the stones outside of China. So on one hand, we don't even know where the discs came from, and on the other, we don't even know who the man is who found them. Coming in at number 9 are the String of Lights. In 2005, Leroy Chiao, a former NASA astronaut, was on a spacewalk when he saw a strange formation of lights pass him. He said as the sun started rising, he looked in the opposite direction and saw a line of 5 lights. They flew by quickly in an echelon formation, with the second light being slightly out of line. He himself had no idea what they were, and he speculated that they were a constellation of satellites or bright lights actually on Earth. One aerospace engineer called James Smith theorized what Leroy saw may have been squid fishing boats off the coast of South America. They use bright lights to attract the squid, and they usually appear on images from weather satellites, so the option is plausible. Either way, to see that in space would have been truly something. At number 8 we have the UFO sighting. So back in 2015, NASA was accused of stopping their live feed from the International Space Station just as the UFO came into sight. It's hard to tell in the video, but a tiny grey circular object rises and then disappears in the footage right before the cutoff. I mean, it could also totally not be a UFO, but it's still an unidentified flying object, so make of that what you will. Dr. Brian O'Leary, an ex-NASA astronaut, said there's abundant evidence that we're being contacted and that civilizations have been visiting us for ages. Dr. Edgar Mitchell, the 6th person on the moon, said there has been crashed craft and bodies recovered. We aren't alone in the universe, they've been coming here for a long time. These are their words, not mine. Filling our number 7 slot is Oumuamua, or its official name A/2017 UI. sky. In 2017, the Pan-STARRS 1 telescope saw something zoom into our solar system. It's the first object ever that came from outside our solar system. At first they thought it was an asteroid or a comet due to its orbit, but they concluded it was from interstellar space. As soon as they found it, multiple telescopes around the globe focused in on it for 3 whole days. It was a rotating object the size of a football field. Literally, it was 10 times longer than it was wide, and it changed in brightness dramatically. It seemed to be a long cigar-shaped object with a reddish hue that came from millions of years of radiation from cosmic rays, and it spun on its axis every 7.3 hours. Its Hawaiian name Oumuamua means a messenger that reaches out from the distant past, which is pretty fitting if you ask me. Now, astronomers have figured out that the object came from the direction of Vega, which is a star in the Lyra constellation. But given that Oumuamua is traveling at 85,700 miles per hour, it would have taken a long time to travel that distance, and Lyra obviously isn't in the same place it was 300,000 years ago, so we really have no idea where it really originates from. We're trying to track it for as long as possible. It passed Mars and Jupiter's orbit, and it recently just passed Saturn's in January of 2019. It's en route to the Pegasus constellation and to be out of ours for a very long time. Now at number 6 is the music. In May of 1969, the crew of Apollo 10 heard some sort of outer space type music as they passed over the far side of the moon. They had been cut off from contact with Houston, so the 3 of them listened to this alone, and when communication channels reopened, they didn't mention the incident because they were worried the land crew would be concerned about their psychological state. The noise sounds like a low frequency whistling noise. For 1 hour, the astronauts and the recording talk about the weird tune but can come up with no explanation for it. Some say maybe it was an alien orchestra or the sound of a vessel nearby, while radio technicians guess it's probably from signal interference between the lunar modules and the command module's VHF radios. Which probably is the right answer, I'm not gonna lie. Just doesn't sound like an alien orchestra. Coming in at number 5 is the green orb. Now, Major Gordon Cooper was orbiting the Earth in the Mercury capsule as part of the Mercury missions. However, during the mission, he said he witnessed a green orb coming towards him. He quickly called mission control and started the emergency procedures, but the orb then randomly just disappeared. Even a tracking station in Muchie, Australia picked up an object approaching the capsule, so it definitely existed and it was definitely there, yet we have no explanations for this space orb. At number 4 is the flying object. In March of 1991, Russian cosmonaut Musa Manarov filmed a very strange occurrence from the Mir space station. Way behind the station in the distance, there seemed to be a weird white reflective object. From what I could tell, it was a vertical spacecraft that was almost reflecting light off of it every few seconds. At one point, the reflection light turns a reddish color, and then the craft changes from vertical to horizontal and continues moving. The footage I watched came from the archives of the Soviet space authorities, so at least we know that it's legit. Most critics tried to argue the video was simply some space junk, but Musa vehemently disagreed. Filling our number 3 slot is the Millennium Falcon. Now, while watching the ISS NASA live feed back in 2016, Jaden Beeson said he saw a metal spaceship. He said the UFO that he saw seemed similar to the Millennium Falcon found in Star Wars, so he realized he definitely needed to take a screenshot to prove what he was seeing. The metal craft had a blue glow to it and stayed hovering above Earth for about 2 minutes. It's very clear to see it's not a small craft by any means. Either way, Jaden sent the image to NASA but has not gotten any explanation or response back, which makes the whole thing even more suspicious. Are all these crafts just hovering above Earth and then just going away? Why? Please just come in, you guys. We are friends. Friends of ET, friends of extraterrestrials. Now at number 2 are the Dropa stones in space. Didn't think that one would make a comeback in the video, now did you? Back in 2006, NASA taped some debris floating around the shuttle Atlantis on mission STS-115. The first thing seen is a rectangular object that seems to be in the same orbital path as the Atlantis. The debris were donut-like white objects that were pulsating with light. Now, most people think it wasn't debris at all, and that NASA is just saying that when they full well know it's something else. They told the public that maybe the debris were were items that had gotten loose from the shuttle or had accidentally discharged from the bay. The Atlantis flight director said it's common to see bits of debris when astronauts open the payload doors at the start of mission, but it's unusual seeing objects late in the mission as they did in this case. But the debris had an uncannily similar appearance to the Droba stone-shaped things that were found passing the STS-75 mission as well. The stones were miles wide and could be seen behind a 12-mile tether as it went into space and snapped loose. And finally, at number 1 is Major Vladimir. Now, Major General Vladimir Kovalnyuk was a cosmonaut in the 80s who saw something bizarre during the Saljut mission. They were moving over South Africa when he saw an oval-shaped object. Initially, it flew straight, but then an explosion of golden light happened. A few seconds later, the oval object transformed into 2 golden spheres. After that, Vladimir just saw white smoke and the spheres had just disappeared. He said he tried to take a picture of it, but it exploded just before he could. When he reported to Mission Control, it was all over Soviet headlines, magazines, newspapers, and most people excluded any option of it being extraterrestrial, but it did happen. It has no explanation and it was seen by not 1 but 2 people, Vladimir and his partner Viktor Savink.
Starting us off with number 10 is Brandon Lawson. 26-year-old San Angelo local Brandon Lawson was married to Ledessa Lofton and had 4 children. On August 8, 2013, around midnight, he got into a fight with Ledessa and left the house to go to his dad's place. Unfortunately, that was the last time he was ever seen alive. 45 minutes later, he called his brother Kyle claiming he had ran out of petrol on the highway. A few minutes later, no one had any idea what happened, but Brandon made another call, only this time it was to 911. The call featured Brandon saying things like, "I ran into somebody and that he was in a field and he needed help." When Kyle and a police officer finally got there, they both saw his truck on the side of the road, but there was no sign of Brandon. His keys were gone, so was his phone, but thankfully the truck didn't seem to be damaged at all. All of a sudden, Kyle got a call from Brandon, but the signal kept going in and out. All he heard was that Brandon was 10 minutes away from the truck and that he was bleeding. And that was the last time anyone heard from Brandon Lawson again. No activity has been reported on any of his cards, no outgoing calls. Apparently he was chased into the field, but by who? Nobody knows.
Coming in at number 9 is Ben McDaniel. McDaniel was a scuba diver and on August 18th, 2010, he went for his last possible dive. Ben went to Vortex Spring in Florida and tried to access a part of the underwater cave that was only for intermediate divers. Although Ben didn't really have any qualifications, the Vortex Spring employees still let him go through, fearing he would try to sneak in anyway, get caught in the gate, and then drown. That was the last time anyone saw Ben McDaniel alive. Over a dozen cave divers would search every inch of the cave, and it was determined someone Ben's size couldn't get stuck too deep in the cave. An above ground search which ran over the course of 36 days didn't turn up anything either. To this day, no one knows what happened to Ben, although some think he may have started a new life, while others think the exact opposite.
Coming in at number 8, we have the Mapati Nasantra Airlines Flight 6715. In 1995, Flight 6715 went missing on a scheduled flight between Bima Airport and Satatik Airport, both in Indonesia. There were 4 crew members and 10 passengers on board the plane. It was believed to have met bad weather and crashed into the Molo Strait, but without any sign of the plane anywhere, we just don't know.
In our 7th spot, we have Jennifer Kessie. On January 24th, 2006, 24-year-old Jennifer Kessie left for work, but she never made it. She was living in Orlando, Florida and worked as a financial analyst. On January 24th, her boyfriend knew something was up when she didn't send him a good morning message like usual. Then her coworkers were concerned when she missed her shift at work, which was very unlike her. Police think that Jennifer was abducted while walking to her car or while on her way to work. 2 days later, her car was found a mile from her condo, but the police really didn't have any leads. Jennifer's mom told the police about construction workers in the area that would constantly catcall her and make her feel uncomfortable, but nothing came of this information. Then in 2019, 13 years later, the family received a tip saying that a woman remembered seeing a man dump a 6 to 8 foot rolled up carpet in a nearby lake. This was around the time of Jennifer's disappearance, but police have not shared any more information on this. To this day, Jennifer's parents are still looking for her.
Now, number 6 is false information. This case was shared by Reddit user Guy in Florida, who said back in 1971, a woman in Boca Raton, Florida, reported her daughter is missing. Investigation led officers to find that the girl's boyfriend was missing too, and so was his van, which made them think the two lovers had run off together. Very Romeo and Juliet. Now, at some point, the mum hired a private investigator to look for the two, and she was eventually told they were both living in San Francisco. Another PI told her she actually had a grandchild, but none of it made sense. The mum was supportive of the relationship, their home life was completely fine, she just couldn't comprehend why her daughter would cut off all contact for no reason. It wasn't until 2000 that she finally found out the truth. There are quite a few drainage canals in South Florida that drain the Everglades into the ocean, and a lot of them are freaking deep. That year, a canal was dredged, and inside of it, they found the woman's daughter and the boyfriend inside the submerged van. So I guess this one is solved, but for a long time it wasn't.
Number 5, Brianna Maitland. This one is super strange. Brianna was only 17 years old when her and her mother went out shopping. At one point, Brianna left the store to go talk to her friend outside. When her mother finally caught up with her, Brianna seemed stressed out and she was acting strange. Following night, Brianna left work early and just vanished. The part of this story that is so weird is her car was found next to an abandoned house. In the front seat was her paycheck and her purse, but it seemed that she had drove there on her own free will. There was no sign of a struggle.
At number 4 is Brian Schaefer. On March 31st, 2006, Brian Schaefer would meet up with his friend William Clint Florence at a bar called the Ugly Tuna Saloona. Very ugly name. The two would go bar hopping all night until returning to the Ugly Tuna just before 2 in the morning. Security footage shows Schaefer going into the bar but never leaving. Although the boys went out on a Friday night, Schaefer wasn't reported missing until Monday when he didn't show up for his flight to Miami, where he was supposed to spend spring break with his girlfriend. The Ohio State medical student was grieving the loss of his mother, and those around him say he took it incredibly hard, leading them to believe Schaefer may have taken his own life. Others think he may have been a victim of foul play, and interestingly enough, his friend who he was with, William, refused to take a lie detector test. But that doesn't account for the security cameras not seeing him, or someone carrying his body and leaving. That's the scariest part. Where did he literally go?
At number 3, we have Jacob Wetterling. This is a pretty standard story of kids hanging out and having fun. Jacob and his buddies were riding around on their bikes, checking out the town. They went to rent a movie. Some pretty standard kid stuff. On their way back home, Jacob and his friends were stopped by a man holding a shotgun. Never a good turn of events. The guy told them to get off their bikes and then took each one of their bikes and threw them into a ditch one by one, after which he started to interrogate the kids at gunpoint. Eventually he asked them all their ages. After this, he told Jacob's friends to run into the forest and not look back or he would kill them. The last time anyone saw Jacob was when he was being pulled by the man into a strange house. After that, the man and Jacob were never found again.
In our second spot, we have the Sauter children. I've mentioned them before, but let me go more in depth because this disappearance story is, wow, just wait. In West Virginia, on December 24th, 1945, George and Jenny Sauter's home was burned down. 9 out of their 10 children were in the home at the time of the fire. However, only 4 made it out. The other 5 seemed to have disappeared without a trace. Investigators believe that the children perished in the fire. However, none of their bones had been found. Initially, the fire was said to be an electrical fire, but the family's Christmas lights stayed on through the start of the fire. If it was an electrical fire, this wouldn't have happened. On top of that, someone had cut the phone line to their house, and for some reason, their car wasn't working. Now, here's where it gets more strange. Apparently, a woman claimed to have seen the 5 children watching their house burn from a passing car. Then another woman claims she saw the children at a hotel a week after the fire, accompanied by 4 strangers. So it seems like the 5 kids were kidnapped. Still, their disappearance remains a huge mystery.
And finally, at number 1 is Jalik L. Rainwalker. Now, Jalik grew up in the foster home. He was constantly moving, had no real parental figures, and was born addicted to crack cocaine because of his mother. He was known to throw violent temper tantrums, and it was so bad that they'd actually scare the kids around him. At the time, he had been living with Stephen Kerr and Jocelyn McDonald for 5 years, and they had legally adopted him. But the family was unconventional. They lived without running water, they had electricity for only a few hours a day, and the entire family slept in one room. On October 23, 2007, Stephen called a crisis hotline to reverse the adoption because Jaliek's behavior had become too much. Jaliek was sent away to a previous home but came back the next day, but by this point, Care no longer wanted him around the house or around his children. On the night of the first, Jaliek went missing from his paternal grandparents' house while Care was meant to be watching him. He left a note saying, "Dear everybody, I'm sorry for everything. I won't be a bother anymore. Goodbye, Jaliek." The note made it seem like Jay had run away on purpose, or perhaps he had committed suicide since the boy was suicidal. Authorities, however, refused to believe that Jay had written the letter, and despite living in a rural area, his body was missing. If he had died or committed suicide, it would have been easy to find him. Stephen also became a person of interest since there were so many inconsistencies in his story. Footage caught him leaving the house in his truck during the time he said he was asleep. He refused to also take a polygraph test, but it was pretty obvious he was behind his foster son's disappearance.
Coming in at number 10, we have the Boeing 727-223 disappearance. So a Boeing 727-223 is a pretty big plane. In May 2003, one of these former commercial jets was stolen from the Quata de Venturino airport in Angola. Just 2 years after 9/11, the world knew what damage could be done with a plane, so the disappearance sparked a worldwide search from the US Federal Bureau of Investigation and the CIA. Despite their efforts, no trace of the plane has ever been found. It is thought that the American pilot and flight engineer Ben Charles Padilla was on board along with a mechanic from the Republic of Congo. Many theories exist about what happened to the plane, but without finding the aircraft, it is pure speculation.
In our 9th spot, we have Nathaniel Holmes. On December 19, 2017, 17-year-old Nathaniel Holmes disappeared from his high school in Westminster, Colorado. He had only been at a school for 5 weeks, but his family thinks that he got in with the wrong crowd. He reportedly got in trouble a lot, and the day before he disappeared, his dad said that he appeared to be on something. On the day of his disappearance, Nathaniel's mother dropped him off at school, but he never attended his classes. Instead, he apparently went to the principal and asked to speak to his friend that was currently in class. After being denied this, he left school, and that's the last we know about him. He left behind a lot of his personal items, like his phone was found smashed at home. Parents don't know where he went or why he left. Moving on to number 8, we have Maura Murray. On February 9, 2004, 21-year-old nursing student Maura Murray disappeared. She packed up her dorm, withdrew money from the bank, and emailed her professors telling them that she wouldn't be in class for a while because of a death in her family. But that was a lie. It was said that on the day she disappeared, she took out $280 and purchased alcohol from the liquor store. She got in her car and drove off. But at 7:27 that night, she got into an accident. She had driven the car into a tree. Police were at the scene at 7:45, but Maura was nowhere to be seen. The only clue left in her car was a printout of MapQuest directions for Burlington, Vermont. Her phone records that she had called the owner of a condo in Vermont, making them believe that she was headed there. After Maura fled from the car crash, she was never seen again. There were no footprints in the snow, and police dogs lost scent of her within 100 feet of her car. To this day, no one knows her whereabouts. So here are the theories. Number 1, they believe that she fled to start a new life. Number 2, people think that she died from being outside in the cold weather. Number 3, she was abducted, or 4, she was picked up by someone who murdered her.
At number 8, we have Patrick Warren and David Spencer. On Boxing Day 1996, these two best friends told their parents they were going to visit one of Patrick's brothers. 11-year-old Patrick left his house riding his brand new bike, while 13-year-old David was on foot. The next day, one of Patrick's other brothers, Derek Warren, went looking for the boys when he found out they never arrived at their destination. Now, at first, police thought the boys had run away, then Patrick's bike was found behind a gas station. It took them weeks to realize it was actually Patrick's, and this led to an investigation which got very little media attention, but included the boys' faces being plastered on many milk cartons. Professor David Wilson, a criminologist, believes the case was mishandled to begin with because of the boys' families' working class backgrounds. The class wars, they just never end, do they? Although a suspect was named, there was never enough conclusive evidence to believe he was actually guilty. A police chief with the homicide unit went on record saying she believes the boys are dead but will
not stop investigating until they have the answers they're looking for. Filling our number 7 slot is Ray Gricker. Ray worked as a district attorney in Center County, Pennsylvania, and on the 15th of April 2005, he randomly just vanished. Ray was skipping work as he usually did on Fridays. However, when Gricker didn't come home, his girlfriend reported him missing, and the cops found his car parked not far from a bridge. Ray was never seen again, but a fisherman found Ray's laptop months after his disappearance. Oddly, the hard drive had been removed, but was also eventually found on shore. Although it was too damaged to extract any information, investigators found searches on Ray's home computer that read how to wreck a hard drive and water damage to a notebook computer. Here's where things get even more interesting though. Some believe Gricker was murdered because he was part of an investigation involving Jerry Sanfusky, yet Gricker had declined to press charges back in 1998. Gricker retired in 2005, and something out of fear, he may have been set up to keep the truth from coming out. Ultimately, Sandusky wouldn't be able to stop the truth from coming out regardless if he was part of Gricker's disappearance or not. The truth always comes out, baby.
At number 6 we have Virginia Carpenter. I want you all to picture it. It's 1948. Everything's in black and white. People are wearing long trench coats and everyone always has a cigarette. Virginia was dropped off by a cabbie but never made it home. She was spotted talking to 2 men in a car. Over the next few days, there were people who claimed they had seen her all over the city in that car with those 2 men. The last sighting was a hitchhiker who claimed that she was Virginia, but after that, she was gone for good.
Coming in at number 5, I personally find this really fascinating. We have the disappearance of Amelia Earhart. Amelia is an inspiration in so many ways. She was the first female to fly across the Atlantic, and she was known for doing whatever the heck she liked. Anyway, aside from her being an absolute major babe, she is at the center of a huge major mystery surrounding her disappearance. In July 1937, 3 weeks before her 40th birthday, Amelia disappeared in an attempt to circumnavigate the globe. It is thought that something went amiss in the Pacific Ocean near Howland Island, but to this day, nobody knows because Amelia's body and the aircraft have never been found. Many wild theories have formed, some suggesting that she made it to Howland Island and lived as a castaway. Others say she was captured by Japanese troops, and some even say that she faked her own death and is now living a new life with a new identity in New Jersey. Of course, some of these do sound a little bit far-fetched. But without a body and without a plane, we may never know what happened to her.
Moving on at number 4, we have the case of Cindy Song. In 2001, on Halloween night, 21-year-old Penn State University senior Cindy Song disappeared, and she was never seen again. On Halloween night, Cindy returned home from a party at around 4 a.m. She dropped off her bag, cell phone, and took off her false eyelashes. However, Cindy herself was nowhere to be found. Police don't know where Cindy went. Now, a criminal named Paul Weekly did describe a woman that matched Cindy's description, saying that he kidnapped a woman in the area who he thought was a prostitute. He admitted to killing her and multiple others. The police found bodies of the other individuals, but never Cindy's. They think that he made up this story in hopes for a lesser sentence, but we don't know what truly happened to her.
Filling at number 3 slot is Jimmy Hoffa. You may recognize the name because the Netflix movie The Irishman was all about him. Spoiler alert, he is missing. The mobster who is most notably known for leading the Teamsters Union and gaining clemency from President Richard Nixon went missing in 1975 and till this day has the FBI completely stumped. After being released from prison early in 1971, Hoffa would spend the next 4 years under the watchful eye of the FBI. Then he would enter a Michigan restaurant, presumably to meet with other mob bosses, and disappear never to be seen again. Some believe he was taken out, while others simply don't even know where to begin. Hoffa was declared legally dead in 1982, although his body was never recovered, and as recently as 2013 the FBI was still digging up a field near Detroit looking for evidence. They didn't find any.
Okay, we have some more crazy Bermuda Triangle stuff coming in at number 2. We have Flight 19 and the surrounding chaos as it went missing in, you got it, the Bermuda Triangle. I mean, would you fly there? I don't know if I would. Flight 19 were 5 Grumman TV Avenger torpedo bombers that disappeared in the Bermuda Triangle in December 1945. The pilots had reported that they were confused and disorientated before the designation of planes went missing. A Navy boat, the Martin PM Marina flying boat, went in search of the pilots, and that too went missing, never to be heard from or seen again. In total, 14 airmen and 13 naval crew members all went missing that day, and Navy investigators are still completely stumped as to what exactly happened.
And in our number 1 spot, we have Rebecca Corium. Rebecca Corium was a 24-year-old worker on the Disney Wonder cruise ship. She disappeared on or from the ship on March 22, 2011. At 5:45 that morning, she was seen on CCTV footage talking on the phone line, wearing men's clothing, and she was visibly distressed. After she hung up the phone, she was never seen again. At 9 a.m., Rebecca didn't show up to her shift. That's when the Disney staff were told to search the ship for her. This came of nothing. Then the US Coast Guards and Mexican Navy were contacted to search the ocean, thinking that maybe she fell overboard. Again, nothing. Here's where it gets interesting. Many people think that Disney knows what happened to Rebecca, and they just attempted to cover this whole thing up. Let me share the facts with you. For starters, the captain told Rebecca's parents that he believes that she was swept off of Deck 5 by a big wave. However, there were no indications of stormy weather, let alone a rogue wave that night. The wave would have had to been 100 feet high to get over the 6-foot walls on that deck. Then the crew showed her parents the CCTV footage of her daughter on that phone call. They claimed that this was also from Deck 5, saying that after the phone call, she went out on the deck and that's when she was wiped out by the wave. But the footage was cropped to hide the timestamp and location. In fact, it was later revealed that it was from Deck 1, not Deck 5. On top of that, the Disney crew gave the parents a sandal that they claimed was Rebecca's, which was found on the deck. But the sandal was the wrong size and style of Rebecca. Even a crew member stated, and I quote, "Disney knows exactly what happened. That phone call she had, it was taped. Everything here is taped. There's CCTV everywhere. Disney has the tape." He believes that Disney has the tape that shows exactly what happened to Rebecca. But they aren't releasing it. They probably covered it up with fear that it will tarnish their happy family-friendly reputation.
At number 10, we have Felix Moncla. Alright, we're going to be combining a few things on this list. We're going to have stuff here that will make you afraid to leave your door unlocked, and we have stuff that will have you running around with a tinfoil hat on, scared that aliens will stick cameras up your butt and put your brain in your dog's body. This one is a super eerie case. It's 1953 and some military radar picks up an unknown blip. It seems to be something that's just hovering. It's right over Lake Superior in Michigan, and the military wants some info about what this thing is, so they send out Felix. It might be a hidden attack from some leftover Nazis, who knows. Felix got into his fighter jet, sped off to figure out what this thing was. The people in the base were watching the two little markers get closer and closer and closer until it was right over the one at Lake Superior. Then it seemed like they collided and just disappeared. The official report was that he crashed into an enemy plane, but there was no signs of a crash, no wreckage, nothing. How do two planes crash into each other and there's no debris? Maybe Felix went right into a wormhole into another dimension. Or he was snatched up by aliens and they're putting cameras in his butt and switching his brain with his dog's brain. Who knows?
Coming in at number 9 is Mayumi Arashi. This one was shared by Reddit user Sheep Floof, who told the story of 27-year-old Mayumi. One day she left the house to meet up with a classmate and just never came home. Her older sister Yoko then called this classmate, who claimed this meeting was never planned and they had never met her that day. The Arashi family was distraught looking for their daughter, and what made matters worse was that Mayumi left a note in her room saying she had been betrayed and that she was sorry. At this point, officers had pinned the suspect to one of Mayumi's guy friends, and let's just call him A, just like that. Now later on, A called Yoko and admitted he had seen her the afternoon she vanished, and that if she ever wound up dead, he wanted to be in jail. The day after she disappeared, police officers followed A to a mountainous area where he was seen carrying 2 cans of juice, never to be seen again. The case started blowing up and her dad was interviewed about the case, and during a computer interviews, viewers noticed a note behind Mayumi's door that no one had seen yet. On it, in Mayumi's writing, it said, "Don't trust what Yoko says." Dun dun dun. Was it the sister? We don't know.
At number 8, we have Garnell Moore. This one is a really sad story. Garnell was a young boy with no real family. He was passed around from family member to family member, each taking turns to take care of him. One day he was just gone. People started asking questions, which brought the police into the picture. After a bit of investigating, it turns out that the last person who was taking care of Garnell was his aunt. She told the police that she couldn't take care of him anymore, so she left him on the steps of a child services building. But when the police went to check the place out, it didn't exist. But there was no evidence linking the aunt to the disappearance of Garnell. And the other family members didn't have any explanation of where he might have gone. So was the whole family just keeping one giant secret? We'll never know. Unless someone comes forward, then we'll totally know.
Coming in at number 7, we have LIAT Flight 319. In August 1986, a scheduled flight from St. Lucia to St. Vincent and the Grenadines in the Caribbean went missing. On board were 11 passengers and 2 crew members, all now presumed dead. The aircraft made 2 landing attempts before going missing ahead of its 3rd attempt. Many people believe that the plane most likely crashed into the ocean as a result of a failed 3rd landing. As the ocean is some 6,000 feet deep in this area, searches for the plane have been fruitless.
Making our way down the list at number 6, we have Patricia Meehan. This case is definitely really unusual. On April 20th, 1989, 37-year-old Patricia Meehan got into a car accident after driving on the wrong side of the road. The other driver, Carol, claims that she saw Patricia get out of her car and just stare at her. Then she climbed over a fence and stared at her again before walking away from the scene completely. That was the last official time that she was seen. There have been reported sightings of Patricia a couple of times across the US, like at truck stops or hitchhiking along the side of the road. In May of 1989, a waitress reported seeing a woman that fit her description. She claims that she was talking to herself and seemed disoriented. Investigators think that she got a head injury from the accident, and along with her previous health problems, it caused her to develop amnesia. Sadly, we don't know for sure. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with Charles and Catherine Romer. In April of 1980, Charles, age 73, and Catherine Romer, age 75, were headed back home from their yearly trip to Miami, Florida. On April 8th, they checked into the Holiday Inn Hotel and dropped off their luggage before heading back out for dinner. That was the last time that they were ever seen. Later, their car was found at the side of the road by a group of restaurants. Back at the hotel, none of their belongings were touched. There were no clues or leads to what had become of them. They just mysteriously vanished. Some people say that they were at the wrong place at the wrong time. Other people think that they were a victim of foul play since Charles was a wealthy oil executive. But we don't know for sure what happened.
Coming in at number 5 is Rico Harris. This 6'9" former Harlem Globetrotter basketball player had definitely had his hardships in life. Rico suffered from a lot of hard substance abuse earlier in life, but had been clean for a while and was finally getting his life back on track. In 2012, Rico started dating Jennifer Song, and the two began their long-distance relationship. By the end of 2014, things were pretty serious and talks of marriage were being had, so the two decided to merge their lives together and he moved to Seattle for her. A few weeks after moving, he went back to Alhambra to see his family, and Jennifer said he just went to get some closure. On the way there, Rico was completely fine. He met his mom and a brother, and things were left amiss. He didn't get what he wanted out of the conversation and left that night to go back home. At around 10:45 p.m, he called Jennifer and told her he was going up to the mountains to rest, so he hadn't gotten much sleep all night. At 11:15, he turned his phone off, and no one has heard from Rico since. Imagine what Jennifer's going through. Like, how does your boyfriend, soon-to-be fiance, just disappear and never tell you where he went? Did he kill himself? What happened?
At number 4, we have Karina Sagers and Annette Sagers. This case definitely left a couple of boys and their father with some emotional scarring. In the early 80s, Karina Sanders, mother of 3, just went missing out of nowhere. One minute she was waiting at a bus stop, and the next she was gone. Karina's family was pretty broken by this, but then in 1988, the Sagers' youngest kid, Annette Sagers, went missing from the same bus stop. Okay, hold on. How are you gonna let any of your family go back to the bus stop after one of you goes missing there? That's an accident waiting to happen. Here's where the story gets really messed up. There was a note left at the bus stop that said, "Mommy came back, please give the boys a hug." What's even crazier is that the note was in Karina's handwriting. Are you serious? She came back to get her daughter but left her sons? Dude, this is gonna leave the kids with trauma over level 9000.
In our third spot, we have Tara Calico. On September 20th, 1988 at 9:30 a.m., 19-year-old Tara Calico left her home in New Mexico to go on a bike ride. She typically biked that route daily. She told her mom that if she wasn't back by noon to come and get her because she had plans with her boyfriend. That was the last time she ever saw her daughter. When she didn't show up by noon, her mother went looking for her and eventually called the police. Witnesses say that they saw a truck following her while she was biking home at around 11:45 a.m. Her Walkman was eventually found smashed at the side of the road. A year later, a disturbing Polaroid was found in a Florida parking lot. The photo showed a young girl that looked like Tara. She was bound up beside a young boy. Both had their mouths taped shut. Tara's mom claims that it was a photo of her daughter, saying that they have the same hair and same scar on their leg. Also, in the photo, there was a copy of the novel My Sweet Audrina, which was her favorite book. Seems like it was purposely planted there. Now, over the years, there have been several leads, but none have been successful. Sadly, the whereabouts of Tara are still unknown.
Now at number 2 is Boris Weisfehler. In 1984, the 43-year-old man took a trip to Chile, where authorities concluded he drowned while trying to cross a river on a hike. The only evidence that Weisfehler was ever by a river was the fact his backpack was found near one. 16 years after his disappearance, US documents became declassified, and it turns out a witness allegedly saw Weisfehler being interrogated before being shot point blank. This led to a new investigation, and in 2012, a total of 8 men, including police and military officers, were charged with Weisfehler's disappearance and kidnapping. 4 years later, the case was closed and the men were all freed. Weisfehler's body still hasn't been found, and his family is still looking for answers regarding his disappearance.
Of course, at number 1, we have one of the biggest aviation mysteries in history. We have the missing Malaysia Airlines Flight 370. In a disastrous year for Malaysia Airlines, which included another one of their planes being shot down over the Ukraine, Flight 370 went missing with 227 passengers on board and 12 crew members. The passenger flight took off at 12:42 AM and made its last communication with air traffic control at 19 minutes past 1 in the morning. This was before the pilot then switched off the communication system. Following that, the plane was picked up off course by military radar 2 hours later. It is an absolute total mystery as to why, and many theories exist as to what took place. Some debris linked to the plane has been found, although they haven't really been conclusive. Some reported sightings of the plane emerged, which further deepened the mystery. Some think that it's landed and people are being held captive, so who knows?
Starting off this countdown, we have the Fort Worth missing trio. On December 23rd, 1974, 17-year-old Rachel Trillica, 14-year-old Lisa Renee Wilson, and 9-year-old Julianne Mosley all disappeared after doing Christmas shopping at a mall in Fort Worth, Texas. The girls were supposed to be home by 4 p.m., but they never showed. Rachel's car was found in the parking lot outside of Sears. In the car were the gifts that the girls bought that day. The police had no leads until Rachel's husband received a note from her. And before you say anything, yes, she was 17 and married. It was typical back then. Anyways, the note read, "I know I'm going to catch it, but we just had to get away. We're going to Houston. See you in about a week. The car is in Sears upper lot. Love, Rachel." But it didn't seem to be written by Rachel. In fact, it looked like she misspelled her own name and then tried to correct it, making them believe that someone else wrote the note to try and get police off their trail. To this day, we don't know where these girls are.
At number 9, we have Brandon Swanson. Brandon was driving home late one night in Minnesota. He might have been drinking, or maybe he just wasn't really paying attention to where he was going, but he ended up in a ditch. His loving mother and father left to go grab him, but he wasn't where he said he would be, so they searched for him for hours. This entire time they were talking on the phone with him. While talking on the phone with him, his father heard him yell out, "Oh shit," and then the phone just went dead. His car was found 25 miles away from where he said it was. A 500-person search party was sent out, but he was never found.
Bobby Dunbar Part 1. Now this one is actually insane. Now back in 1912, the Dunbar family took their kids and went fishing at a lake in Louisiana. His parents decided to stay back while the uncle took the kids fishing. On the way back, at some point, Bobby got separated from the group and the uncle only noticed when they finally got back. The family searched for him all over. The police looked for him for 8 full months, but to no avail. Eventually, officers found a man called William Cantwell Walters who was traveling with a boy that looked a lot like the Dunbar boy. William's story about the boy was pretty sus. He said his friend gave him custody of their son, that his name was Bruce Anderson. The Dunbars were certain that Bruce was actually Bobby, and officers transferred the custody of the boy to them. When he was reunited with Leslie Dunbar, he even shouted "mother," but it doesn't end there. A woman called Julia Anderson saw the story in the newspaper and arrived in town to claim the boy was actually her son, Bruce. Going on number 7 slot is Bobby Dunbar Part 2. Julia's arrival spiced things up a big time. She claimed she had given Bruce to William for a 2-day trip to visit his relatives, then she had never given him actual custody of the boy. When the boy was put in front of Julia, he didn't recognize her at all, and she him, which is again very sus. A kidnapping trial ensued, and no one was really on Julia's side since she had already had 3 kids out of wedlock, 2 of which had already passed away. And think of the context, it's the early 1900s, people were judging her hard and questioning her character, and I mean, it was the time, so I'm not surprised. Sadly, Julia wasn't even that well off, so she didn't have enough money to keep the court battle going, so the child ended up staying with the Dunbars. However, in a shocking turn of events, in 2004, Bob Dunbar Jr. did a DNA test which showed he was not related by blood to his cousin, the son of Bobby's brother, Alonzo. So the boy was not a Dunbar, which begs the question, was he Bruce Anderson? And what really happened to the real Bobby Dunbar?
Coming in at number 6, we have Flight N482U. Upali Air Flight N482U was carrying precious cargo in the form of a multi-millionaire businessman. This millionaire went by the name of Upali Wiljawani. Unfortunately, the plane went missing 15 minutes after taking off from Kuala Lumpur Airport in February 1983. The plane's last contact put it near Malaysia and the Malacca Straits, although a search of the area following the disappearance was never fruitful. A survival pack was found near the area that was believed to have come from the jet, but no wreckage was ever found.
Coming in at number 5 is Lauren Spira. In the early hours of June 3rd, 2011, a 20-year-old student at Indiana University, Lauren Spira, would go missing. And it's very weird how little information there is on this disappearance. Lauren was with her friend Corey Rossman leaving a bar around 2:30 a.m. and they were both pretty intoxicated. The two of them went to Lauren's place, then Corey's place, where he would fall asleep. Lauren would then try making her way home but ended up at Corey's neighbor's place and would leave there around 4:30 a.m., which was the last time anyone saw her. Coincidentally, when Lauren's boyfriend Jesse Wolf tried to get in touch with her, he found out she had left her phone at the bar. After the 2015 murder of a 22-year-old just miles away from Lauren's campus, police thought they may finally have a suspect. After investigation, there was no connection between the two cases, and to this day, no one knows what happened to Lauren.
At number 4 is Angela Hammond. The year was 1991. 20-year-old Angela was engaged to Rob Schaefer and was 4 months pregnant with their child. On April 4th, she dropped Rob off at a barbecue, and an hour later she used a payphone to call him. While they spoke, she saw this creepy man circling the block a bunch of times in his green pickup truck. He got out of his truck and was looking around for something with a flashlight, and Angela asked if he needed to use the phone, to which he said no. Suddenly, Rob hears Angela scream on the phone and he rushes to the payphone in his car, not knowing Angela's kidnapper was driving past him in the opposite direction. She yelled for him and he reversed abruptly, breaking his transmission while he did so. And sadly, his car broke down and the truck got away, and with it, Angela Hammond. The search for the truck began, but to no avail. Police started questioning Rob since he had no witnesses to corroborate his story. But he did agree to a polygraph test and passed, so he was telling the truth. Rob was cleared, but Angela was never seen.
This next disappearance was as recent as 2016. We have the disappearance of Indian Air Force Flight AN-32. This had 29 people on board. On the 22nd of July 2016, an Indian Air Force plane went missing over the Bay of Bengal. The aircraft vanished about 2.5 hours before it was due to land at Port Blair. The disappearance sparked India's biggest ever marine search and rescue operation, but it was to no avail. By the 1st of August, all passengers and crew were presumed dead.
At number 2, we have Amy Bradley. Another situation of people trying to enjoy themselves and all their fun gets torn down before they can sip back their first ice-cold margarita. Amy Bradley was on a cruise with her parents. She was getting day drunk probably, hanging out, having a good time, eating food, laying in the sun, all that standard stuff. But one day, she was gone. Everyone was checking for her all over the boat. They were checking for her everywhere to see if she fell overboard. No one could find anything. The boat then docked in Curacao and a huge search party went out, but they couldn't find a single sign. Years later, a picture was sent to Amy's parents. It was someone who looked a lot like their daughter, but there was no information on the picture. And years after that, a sailor said he had spoke to Amy in a Curacao brothel. She might have been kidnapped on the boat and then sold into sex slavery on the island.
And finally, at number 1 are the Beaumont siblings. In 1966, 9-year-old Jane, 7-year-old Anna, and 4-year-old Grant would oddly disappear from Glenelg Beach in Australia. Their parents let them go to the beach quite often as long as they came home by their curfew. When the children left that day at 10 a.m. and didn't return for their 2 p.m. curfew, the Beaumonts got worried. By 7:30 that night, their mother called the police, and witnesses at the beach said they saw the kids with a tall blonde guy with a very thin face. A local vendor also told authorities the kids bought
sort of meat pie, which was strange because the kids had never purchased one before and their parents hadn't sent them out with any money. This led to even more unanswered questions. Where did they get the money for the meat pie? Why did they even buy a meat pie? And most importantly, where did the children go? There's still $1 million reward regarding their disappearance. Some think the man abducted them, while others fear they were washed out to sea, or Grant got pulled out and his sisters attempted to save him and failed. Honestly, when I first read this story, it really gave me a series of unfortunate events vibes, like 3 children, Beaumont, Baudelaire, thin blonde man, Count Olaf. Are we seeing the parallels? Because I certainly am making them.
Coming in at number 9, we have the Star Tiger. In January 1948, British South American Airways lost a plane called the Star Tiger somewhere over the Atlantic. There was a lot of weird things going on surrounding the disappearance of the plane, and it was heading from Portugal to Bermuda. This all helped perpetuate the rumours of the cursed Bermuda Triangle. 25 passengers and 6 crew members have not been accounted for since the flight disappeared at 3 AM on the 30th of January. Captain Macmillan had delayed takeoff due to an engine issue, and then he met harsh weather conditions. Speculation says that the plane was blown off course into a gale before crashing into the ocean, although of course a wreckage has never been found. We have more on the Bermuda Triangle further down this list, so do stay tuned, because I for one am freaked out.
Moving on to number 8, we have Maura Murray. On February 9, 2004, 21-year-old nursing student Maura Murray disappeared. She packed up her dorm, withdrew money from the bank, and emailed her professors telling them that she wouldn't be in class for a while because of a death in her family. But that was a lie. It was said that on the day she disappeared, she took out $280 and purchased alcohol from the liquor store. She got in her car and drove off. But at 7:27 that night, she got into an accident. She had driven the car into a tree. Police were at the scene at 7:45, but Maura was nowhere to be seen. The only clue left in her car was a printout of MapQuest directions for Burlington, Vermont. Her phone records that she had called the owner of a condo in Vermont, making them believe that she was headed there. After Maura fled from the car crash, she was never seen again. There were no footprints in the snow, and police dogs lost scent of her within 100 feet of her car. To this day, no one knows her whereabouts. So here are the theories. Number 1, they believe that she fled to start a new life. Number 2, people think that she died from being outside in the cold weather. Number 3, she was abducted, or 4, she was picked up by someone who murdered her.
At number 7, we have Henry Avery. Let's move on to a happier story. This one is about one of the most bad dudes who ever lived. Henry Avery was known as King of the Pirates. This dude probably drank more rum and spread more chlamydia than 6 Charlie Sheens taped together. Between the years of 1694 and 1696, this dude was notorious and took down over 5 different ships for everything they were worth. His biggest get was the Gagny Sowie. Him and his crew of dirty, scurvy-ridden debauchees took over this boat, and what they found wasn't just a bunch of fruit and booze, but 600,000 pounds worth of gold and silver. This guy literally won the pirate lottery. If we do a little conversion on this bad boy, the take was worth $52 million. Actually, over $52 million. This guy was now the biggest baller in town. He was the most loaded pirate who had ever lived. He split his money with the rest of his crew and then disappeared. No one ever saw this badass again. He was lost to the world and probably became a king somewhere and died from having too much sex.
We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with Charles and Catherine Romer. In April of 1980, Charles, age 73, and Catherine Romer, age 75, were headed back home from their yearly trip to Miami, Florida. On April 8th, they checked into the Holiday Inn Hotel and dropped off their luggage before heading back out for dinner. That was the last time that they were ever seen. Later, their car was found at the side of the road by a group of restaurants. Back at the hotel, none of their belongings were touched. There were no clues or leads to what had become of them. They just mysteriously vanished. Some people say that they were at the wrong place at the wrong time. Other people think that they were a victim of foul play since Charles was a wealthy oil executive. But we don't know for sure what happened.
Coming in at number 4, we have Pakistan International Airlines Flight 404. 28 years on, and this aviation incident is still a huge mystery. In August 1989, a passenger jet carrying 49 passengers and 5 crew members disappeared amid a domestic flight in Pakistan. On the plane's way to Islamabad, one of the pilots made a routine radio call at 7:40 AM, and then that was the last it was ever heard from. Many think that the aircraft crashed into the Himalayas, although whether a wreckage or not even a trace of one has ever been found.
Following with pre-sod is Stacey Aris. Back in July of 1981, 14-year-old Stacey, her dad, and 4 others went to Sunrise Sierra Camp on horseback. It was built as a tourist destination 20 years prior, and it's the final stop in Yosemite's Mountain Chalet Loop. When they got there, Stacey told her dad she wanted to take photos at the nearby lake, and although he didn't go with her, an elderly man from the group did instead. At some point on the way there, he got quite tired and sat down, so Stacey carried on the journey by herself. A few hours later, the man returned to the camp without Stacey, claiming he waited for ages, but she never walked back. A tour guide in the group said he saw her from afar, standing on a rock about 50 yards south of the trail. So there's no way she could have gotten lost, but she was never seen again. Did she accidentally drown in the lake? Did she in fact get lost? I mean, the lake was only 1 bluff away from the camp, but she was only 14 years old. Maybe the sun was setting, it was getting dark, and she kind of just lost her way. Now, the 2 is Kelly Sue Achernecht. At the end of September 2008, Kelly Sue was living with her daughter and husband, who she had had a troubled marriage with. She left work at 9:30 p.m. to go home, but she never made it back. At 2 a.m. that night, her car was found utterly destroyed and on fire only 3 blocks away from her house. But the route it was found on wasn't the one that she normally took home, so already the situation was odd. Personality-wise, Kelly Sue was bullied as a child and therefore had self-esteem issues growing up. She was also clinically depressed and stopped taking her medication shortly before her disappearance. Was it a suicide? Maybe she burnt her car to make it look like she had gotten into an accident just to restart her life somewhere else. We will never know.
Number 1 spot, we have Joan Gay Krop. In 1947, a massive tornado swept through Middle America. It was knocking the hell out of everyone's home and killed over 100 people. One of these people was Joan's mother. Joan's father managed to survive, but he was severely injured. Joan and her family members were brought to a local hospital, and Joan and her brother were told to stay in the basement. Just in case another tornado came through town, this would be the safest place to be. It wasn't long after the family got settled into the hospital that 2 men in army uniforms arrived. They were searching for Joan. The hospital staff complied with the men, even though they had no idea who these 2 men were. Joan left with them, and then she was gone forever. She was only 4 years old when this happened.
Starting off this countdown, we have Cicada 3301. Now this is one of the most famous internet mysteries of all time. So it all started in 2012 when a mysterious organization, Cicada 3301, posted a weird message on 4chan. According to the message, there was a secret hidden within their posted image, and they were recruiting highly intelligent individuals to try and solve it. They said that solving this would lead them on the road to finding them, and that they looked forward to meeting those that solved it. Well, it turns out that by opening the image file in a text editing app, a string of characters would appear. When decoded, it led users to a website with even more weird messages. Some say that they solved the mystery. Others say that those who completed the puzzle are recruited for something and are never heard from again. What are they recruited for though? That's what I would like to know. In our 9th spot, we have Heaven's Gate. This was a creepy and popular American religious cult on the internet that believed in UFOs. In 1997, police found 39 members of the cult dead inside of a house. Apparently, the members took their lives in order to ascend and board an extraterrestrial spacecraft and go to another planet. They were all found wearing arm patches that read Heaven's Gate Away Team. To this day, the website is still up and running, and no one knows who's running it. Now in 2015, the administrators behind the website did do an email interview. In the interview, they called themselves Tela, which stands for the evolutionary level above humans. They claim that the dead members are actually alive and have transcended their human bodies, and that they will come back eventually. To this day, their identity still remains unknown. In our 8th spot, we have Chip Chan. This is one internet mystery that has always left me unsettled. Chip Chan is the name given to a Korean woman that was discovered in a 4chan webcam thread in 2008. It immediately caught the attention of a number of people because the footage revealed this woman sleeping in unusual positions for long periods of time at unusual times of day. In fact, at first, people thought that she was dead. She also sleeps in weird positions like on a chair or on the floor. After doing further investigation, users found that this woman believes that a mind control weapon was implanted into her ankle bone and under her left eyebrow. This chip is said to control her, and that's what's making her sleep all the time. She also claims that she is being held by a corrupt officer named P, and that she installed these webcams into her home so that she can see what happens to her when she's sleeping. This story is just so freaking creepy, and I don't think it's ever been solved. In our 7th spot today, we have Kanye Quest. Yep, not Kanye West, Kanye Quest. Kanye Quest 3030 is an RPG game that was released in 2013. Now, it seems just like a silly game. It centers around Kanye West, who on his way to take out trash travels through a wormhole and into the future. He then has to take down an evil dictator, and you got Tupac, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre in it, and you can have a rap battle with them. Now, the game seems pretty harmless. That was until a player found out the game's dark secret. At one point in the game, you can interact with a displayed message. It seems like gibberish at first, until people realized it said, "Ascend and worship the based god." Further on in the game, you are asked to enter a prompt, and you can type anything you want. But if you type "ascend," the whole game changes and you're put in this secret area. Eventually, players got to a screen that congratulated them on being an open-minded and curious thinker. They then instructed the player to not tell anyone about what they found. It then asks if you wish to participate. If you click yes, then they give you instructions on an exercise that you need to complete. Furthermore, players discovered a QR code that led to a now defunct website. In the end, it was discovered that the game has been tied to the religious cult of Ascensionism and to a mysterious company, Ascension Records. The true meaning of the secret of this game has remained unsolved to this day. Coming in at number 6, we have Jack Frozy. Now, there are a number of creepypastas out there about someone dying and then their loved ones receive phone calls or Facebook messages or texts from the dead person. Well, this actually happened in real life. Jack Frozy was a 32-year-old man from Dunmore, Pennsylvania. In June of 2011, he died suddenly and unexpectedly from a heart arrhythmia. 5 months after Jack's death, his friend received an email from Jack's account with the subject line, "I'm watching." Soon his family started getting emails from Jack as well. Now, of course, they didn't believe it to be Jack for a second, but whoever it was, they knew intimate details regarding his friends and family, details only Jack would know. To this day, no one knows who sent these emails. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with GhostNet. This is the name given to a large-scale cyber spying operation uncovered in 2009. In fact, it has been described as one of the most extensive operations ever uncovered. Yet, no one knows who was behind this operation. So in 2009, it was found that an organization infiltrated over 1,000 computers across 103 countries. They did this by sending emails with attachments or links to individuals or organizations. By opening the file, the user would unknowingly download a virus onto their computer that allowed the hackers to gain complete control of their computers, so they could read and send data and even turn on someone's webcam and microphone. Like I said, no one knows who was behind this, but since the network originated in China, some believe that the Chinese government had something to do with this. Others believe that the CIA or the Russian government were behind this. In our 4th spot, we have the most mysterious song on the internet. This is the title given to a song with an unknown name, sung by an unknown artist with an unknown origin. It all started when a man named Darius came across an old cassette and liked a song on there and wanted to find the name of it. Him and his sister couldn't figure it out, so they turned to the internet for help. Soon, thousands of music enthusiasts came forward to try and figure out this song. To this day, no one has figured out who's behind this song, hence why it's given the name the most mysterious song on the internet. What's even weirder is when the song was shared online, a number of people recognized it. They said that they have heard it before, they just can't put their finger on it. In our 3rd spot, we have Markovian Parallax Denigrate. This mystery started back in the 90s and revolves around a number of weird and confusing posts that appeared to be complete gibberish. Back then, there was something called Usenet, which was like a forum. On August 5th of 1996, hundreds of weird messages started appearing on Usenet. No one knew what they meant, but people knew that they were related because each post had one thing in common. The subject line read Markovian Parallax Denigrate. Turns out that these are secret codes, but no one has been able to crack them yet. In our second spot, we have Ted the Caver. Now, some say this is merely just a creepypasta, whereas others believe it's a true story. I'll let you decide what you want to think. Back in February of 2000, a man known only by the name of Ted the Caver posted about exploring an unknown virgin cave passage in the US. According to Ted and his journal entries, when him and his friend entered the cave, they found a narrow passageway with a small hole. So they drilled the hole and decided to explore it further. But as they went to explore this cave, weird things began to happen. Him and his friend heard ghastly screaming, they found weird hieroglyphs on the cave walls, and apparently encountered evil spirits in the cave that followed them home. All of this was backed up with images of him and his friend exploring the cave. The last post was on May 19th, 2001, when Ted revisited the cave and said he would update everyone when he returned home. He never updated the post, making people believe that he never returned home. In fact, this mystery was so popular that a horror movie was made off of it. And in our number one spot today, we have the Lake City Quiet Pills. Now, this is another very weird and wild one. So it starts with the death of a Reddit user, Religion of Peace. He was a moderator for the subreddit Jailbait, which is disturbing on its own. But he mainly posted about his military experience and guns, and would encourage posts to get people to upload pictures on his website, lakecityquietpills.com. But as many investigated his site, they realized that hidden inside the site's HTML code was a motto. It said, and I quote, "Dispensing Lake City Quiet Pills to lousy bastards in need of permanent rest since 1968. It continued on saying, "Shade is maintaining the calendar and access to the file dump. Angel has the job postings for EU and Asia. We aren't sending anyone to me. No one. Don't ask for listings." Then what followed were what appeared to be job listings. Here are some. Immediate need, 8 to 10 Chinese Korean, fluent, Korean dialect accent, details after contact. 12-week, half pay. And they went on to say that they needed Arabic French people. No papers, no problems. A lot of people then theorized that this site was used as a way to pass assassination jobs back and forth. As people dug further, they found a government-owned bullet factory in Missouri called Lake City Ammunition Plant. Meaning, the quiet pills that they're referring to are bullets. I mean, yeah, you get shot by one of those and you'll be quiet. So maybe this website was a front for some illegal activity. Starting off this countdown, we have A858. In 2011, a Reddit user posted a strange and indecipherable code to the subreddit RA858DE45F516-9BC9. Very long, so people refer to it as A858 for short. On the subreddit, this user would post puzzles and cryptic messages. It gained a lot of traction and people were desperately trying to crack these puzzles. No one has been successful to this day. Things got strange when the original poster disappeared for 4 years. When they came back in 2015, that's when he began dropping subtle hints, including a message that when decoded, it revealed an image of Stonehenge. Sadly, in 2016, the page became private, and I believe that it still is private. In our 9th spot, we have Publius Enigma. This is an unsolved puzzle or riddle that was posted on the internet by a user named Publius. Basically, they said that there was a message hidden in the 1994 Pink Floyd album, Division Bell. Many people have tried to solve this puzzle, but none have been successful. It was said though that whoever solved the riddle would be given a reward. Now, the band denied any association with this riddle, and if that's the case, who's behind it? How do you solve it? And what is the reward? In our 8th spot, we have Gary McKinnon. In 2002, Gary McKinnon was determined to figure out if aliens were real. He spent hours researching them and trying to figure out what NASA was hiding. That's when he decided to hack into NASA to see what he could find. In the end, he discovered an image of some sort of strange flying aircraft in the sky. When NASA noticed that an outsider had obtained this information, his access was shut off. Of course, NASA has always denied Gary's claims on the UFO photos that he saw. In the end, Gary was let off the hook, but to this day, we don't know if what he saw was real or if he made it up or what. In our 7th spot, we have unfavorable semicircle. This is said to be YouTube's strangest mystery. It started in March of 2015 when a YouTube account with the title Unfavorable Semicircle was created. From there, they started to post weird cryptic videos, all titled with the Sagittarius symbol and then random numbers. The videos were often of abstract, pixelated images. Some videos were accompanied with weird and distorted sounds. In fact, in some of the videos, you can hear a muffled male voice breathing or reciting random letters or numbers. This channel posted thousands of these weird cryptic videos. To this day, nobody knows what the videos mean or who's behind them. Now here's where it gets weird. A bunch of Reddit users became determined to solve this mystery. From there, the channel gained a lot of attention. But as soon as this happened, YouTube suspended the account without explanation. The videos are basically lost forever. All that's left are bad screen recordings of them. Moving on to number 6, we have the Plague Doctor video. This is another very famous video on YouTube. The video features a person dressed in a Plague Doctor mask doing a bunch of weird stuff in a rundown building. Now, the video title was in binary code. When translated, it spelt out death in Spanish. How creepy is that? Not only that, but the video is filled with an awful buzzing sound. And apparently, if you put this buzzing sound into a spectrogram, which basically gives you a visual representation of the sound, it apparently makes the shape of a woman who's being harmed. To this day, no one knows what's up with this video, or who's behind it, or what it means. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with Are Creepy. Now this is another part to that creepy Plague Doctor video. So when that video became viral, the subreddit Are Creepy became devoted to solving this mystery. However, along the way, some mysterious people started posting weird messages in the forum. One was a Morse code message that when translated said, "Red lips, life 10th." Don't know what that means at all. And then they also posted 2015 there will be 3. Again, no one knows what this means. Other messages included a list of chess moves, the coordinates to the White House, and coded disturbing images depicting violence against women. To this day, no one has been able to solve this mystery or find out who's behind all these posts. In our 4th spot, we have the deep web. The term deep web refers to the 80% of the internet that is inaccessible through normal internet browsers. And there's a reason why. The stuff on the deep web can be traumatizing. One person stumbled upon an online bid. When the bidding ended, it was revealed that they were bidding on a woman who was tied to a chair. The winning bidder could type what they wanted to do to her. Turns out that this was a torture murder live stream. Moving on to number 3, we have Marina Mascarin Glesgorf. Excuse me, I know I just butchered that name. But this is apparently one of the scariest and most haunted videos on the internet. This video was posted on YouTube in 2008 and immediately unsettled everyone who watched it. It starts off with some man just staring into the camera, then out of nowhere, he starts laughing maniacally. In the next section of the video, we see a man with weird, creepy eyeballs. Now, the full video is 2 minutes long. However, you are warned never to watch the full video. It is said that if you do, it'll drive you insane. In fact, the entire video was apparently removed off of YouTube after 100 people took out their own eyeballs after watching this video and then mailed them to YouTube's main office in San Bruno. To this day, we don't know who created this video, why, and who's that man in the video. In our 2nd spot, we have the killer. A number of killers have apparently used forum sites like 4chan to ask some pretty disturbing questions and tease others. On 4chan, one person discovered a post where someone asked what they keep in their freezer. This person replied with a picture of dead body parts in their freezer. Another killer decided to play a little game with some people on 4chan. He said that there was a missing person, and if they guessed who it was correctly, then they would give them a freebie and then coordinates to where her body was buried. And I don't know if she was ever found. And in our number 1 spot today, we have How to Be a Serial Killer. Now, this is the name of a website, thankfully no longer active, that used to teach people how to become a serial killer. The site was full with detailed explanations on how to kill people and get away with it. Eventually, the site was removed, but when you searched for it, a message popped up saying, "How to be a serial killer has been removed. If you're really interested in killing someone, why don't you start with yourself?" Excuse me? No. Okay, sorry. We still need to know who created this site and why. Coming in at number 9, we have Mr. Bear. This next story is so bizarre, and some even believe that it's true. Apparently, in 1999 in Caledon, Ontario, they had a local TV channel called Caledon Local 21. Now, on this channel, they had a children's show called Mr. Bear. Now, we wish that this show was about cute, friendly bears like Care Bears, but it definitely wasn't. Now, this show featured a man dressed in a bear suit. Each episode, he would welcome their guest, always a child. He would bring the child into the cellar and play games with them. It is said that he used the show to lure children to him. Some people claim to remember the show. Other people have gone as far as to creating some episodes in a parody type fashion. I just find this very disturbing. For number 8, we have Charlie Charlie. Have any of you heard the saying, "Charlie Charlie, are you there?" Well, it's part of a game designed to apparently contact the ghost Charlie. Charlie was a young boy who tragically passed away. Some people say he passed away in a car accident, others say he took his own life. And he has now come back to haunt whoever contacts him. Players that play this game are supposed to place 2 pencils overlapping each other to form a cross. The pencils are placed on top of a piece of paper that have 2 sections, yes and no. After they summon Charlie, apparently they can communicate to him through this contraption, using only yes or no questions. Charlie's end goal is to terrorize and harm anyone who plays this game. I wouldn't define it as a game because it's not fun, it's scary and dumb, don't play it. Coming in at number 6, we have Momo. In 2019, a viral picture spread around the internet. I'm sorry for the image that you're about to see because it gives me the creeps looking at it. This photo features a girl with huge bulging eyes, straight greasy hair, and a thin large mouth. Apparently this girl's name is Momo and she is a demon or ghost that's goal is to get people to harm themselves. Now, a virtual game type challenge started going around on apps such as WhatsApp or even Snapchat, where apparently Momo would command people to do tasks that would lead them to commit acts of extreme violence. Other people said that Momo would appear in kids shows like Peppa Pig or in popular games like Fortnite to try and attract kids. Don't worry, this is a hoax. I did tons of research because I was so scared. I wanted to make sure that it was indeed fake, so you're welcome. So the picture of Momo is actually a sculpture made by the Japanese artist Kazuki Asawa. He titled this piece of art Mother Bird. When people saw the photo, that's when they started creating a story surrounding it. In our 4th spot, we have Bloody Mary. Now, I'm not talking about the cocktail here. I wish I was. I feel like most people have heard of this story. It was really popular when I was a kid. In fact, I was stupid enough to try it with my friends and thank gosh, nothing happened. So this legend surrounds a ghost named Bloody Mary. It spooks me just even saying her name. Now, it is said that if you enter the bathroom, turn off the lights, and look in the mirror and chant her name 3 times, nice try, I'm not gonna say it for the video, then she will appear in the mirror and potentially scratch you. Now, there are a lot of variations of the story. Some say you must be holding a lit candle, others say you need to spin around 3 times while saying her name, or even by saying, "Bloody Mary, I believe in you." I swear guys, if I get haunted for just talking about these stories, I'm not gonna be happy. This is the one story that I kind of believe just because my friends have done it and have witnessed paranormal stuff. But who knows? All I know is that I will never do it. Coming in at number 3, we have the girl in the photograph. Word from the wise, if you find a random photograph on the ground, don't go picking it up. Let me explain why. This legend revolves around a beautiful girl that changes her appearance based on her victim. Basically, whoever finds the photograph of her will become infatuated with her. She uses her beauty to brainwash her victims and then leads them to their death. In the photo, this girl also changes depending on how many people she killed. For example, if she killed 3 people, she will eerily be shown holding up, you guessed it, 3 fingers. In our 2nd spot, we have I Feel Fantastic. In 2004, a video titled I Feel Fantastic was uploaded to YouTube. This video features a very scary mannequin type thing named Tara. Tara can be seen with her body completely still, but just her head and lips moving to the song that plays in the background. Now, Tara is not the best singer, and it sounds like a voice simulator type thing with high-pitched beats in the background. The song alone is very agitating to listen to. The robot lady thing was created by John Bergeron, who programmed her to sing the song he writes. Some of the lyrics include "Please leave" and "Run, run, run." The shots of Tara are intercut with her in different outfits and outdoor shots. Now, people believe that the creator of Tara has committed murder and that Tara is wearing the victim's clothes. They also believe that the outside random shots that don't seem to tie into the video actually show where the victims' bodies are buried. The creator also left a cryptic message in the video's description. He makes a reference to Pygmalion. Pygmalion was a Greek god who thought women were tainted and unworthy of love. He then decided to build his ideal woman and fell in love with her. People believe Tara was once the woman he loved, and when he found out she had too many flaws, he murdered her and created this robot thing to replace her. And in our number 1 spot, we have the Blind Maiden. This story gives me the heebie-jeebies, like zoinks. This legend surrounds a website known as blindmaiden.com. I suggest not going on that website. Please. For your own good. Apparently, it is said that you have no access to this website unless you enter at exactly 12 o'clock a.m. while being alone in a room with the lights off. If you succeed to meet this criteria, then you will be allowed to access the site. Now, on this site it is said that you will encounter disturbing images of boys and girls without eyes and with distorted faces. It is said that you have to be careful not to click anything by accident or else you will face the consequences. On this website you will have 2 options, accept or decline. If you accept, then the monitor will change and display someone approaching your house. Then the video footage will change again and you will see a live footage of your back as you feel someone behind you. If you turn around, the maiden will rip your eyes out and take your picture. You will then be a part of the numerous other photos of eyeless individuals on the website. My question is what if you just don't turn around and face her? Like, she's there, you can feel her there, you just don't turn around. Now, if you choose decline, then you are safe from the maiden.